away. Flag play sideline views, breaking down the latest news. No holds barred, just our take. This is where legends away. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddled with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fans don't live, we unite under the stadium lights. Every team, every score, we always hunger for more. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddle with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fan day mornings feeling alive. Jerseys on, we're ready to die. In the fan zone, we'll come on. Let's cheer loud, let's stand tall. Back and forth, the stories fly. Who's the best? Fans can't lie. Touchdowns, tackles, we discuss. Feel the rush, come join us. Fans.
Hey, welcome. It is Arena Crown Week, and we've thought, what a better way to kick off the week than to bring in the people that have been covering the game for the entire season. With me as always is Tim Capper. We've got Adam Samrov from the Nest, who one of our partner channels. We got them posted up on our website each week, and Adam and Randy Snow from the World of Football. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Adam Snow with the Dean Faithful wave. Good man.
Yeah.
Good man. Good pick.
God bless the Dean.
God bless the Dean. That's right.
So guys, it's championship. We're here. We're finally, we made it. We started with 8 teams. We ended with 8 teams. The start is questionable, but kickoff with 8. Final end of the game with 8. That's honestly the goal for season 1. What do you think? How do you think the season went? What's your overall take?
Who wants to go first?
I was gonna say, who wants to go? Randy, Adam, Tim?
Well,
I'll go
rock,
first.
paper, scissors.
I'll go first. All
right.
Of course you will.
This season to me has gone awfully fast. I mean, I know we started with week 0, and there's a little drama there at the beginning of the season, and it looked like maybe the Corpus Christi Tritons might not make it through the whole season, at one point, but they did. They came back. They actually came back pretty strong after they did, and so it's great that all the teams that started have finished the season, and playoffs are done, and now we're here at the championship game, and it's gone by so fast.
Really, for 15 weeks, actually 16 weeks now, the week 0 and the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a fast 16 weeks.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like you just see improvement every week. We talked about it from that week 0 game where the Cats came in with a camp team, and just where they are now, just where everybody's kind of evolved. I've heard you guys talk all the time about the kicking game and coaching. Some terrible coaching throughout the beginning part of the year, and it seems like things got cleaned up as the season went along. And we got flashes of some old school arena football towards the back half of the season, and I had a blast watching everything kind of grow. Yeah, there was some iffy, bumpy parts in the road, but I think we ended pretty strong this year.
I'm just happy that it went the entire.
Oh, sorry.
Everything got done after what happened in 24. Which
Right.
I'm sure turned off a lot of people in the arena football landscape. It was just nice to see them get through it, despite having the hiccups at the very beginning. It was kind of like, it's funny, it's kind of like old school, 1987 arena football league type of stuff where, you weren't really sure what was going to happen from week to week. You know, was Jim Foster going to be able to pay off the entire season on his credit cards? You know, but it's you know, I think it is. I think it's good looking forward when it comes to what's coming up for the championship game, and then letting into the off season, leading into 26. And you know, it's a great homage, I think, to the game itself. As I said, always potentially, sometimes always an issue, but it didn't get them down, and they were able to overcome it and be able to get, you know, and come to the championship game.
So Adam, your guys' team is in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say, just to kind of piggyback a little bit. We were planning to we were planning week 1 to go to Orlando and kind of, you know, like, oh, we take a trip to Florida, cover the game, you know, kind of make a weekend of it that weekend. And then, you know, when they canceled the season, when they folded and kind of that whole situation went, you're like, okay, what's now going to happen? Because we had seen this stuff before. But the fact that they, you know, ended up with 8, ended the season with 8, and like, you know, these guys said, like, we ended up with some pretty damn good football here this year.
Well, you know, and as Randy brought up, you know, Corpus had their little hiccup in the middle of the season, basically dumped their entire roster, rebuilt it, and really by the end of by the last couple of weeks, they weren't playing too bad. Like for a bunch of guys off the street, ultimately. I mean, now they were players, the guys that had experience playing indoor ball, but they actually, you know, put together a little bit of a team. They got at least competitive there at the end, and fortunately, Washington can't quite say the same, but you know, Corpus got competitive there at the end. So hats off to them and in that performance.
Hey, at least Washington looked good while they played, though. Am I right?
They did look good. Oh man,
great uniforms. Not very good team.
Great uniform.
Great helmet. I'm still begging them to sell me a mini helmet. I can't tell you how many times I posted on their social media. Just I will give you money for one of those mini helmets. Please hit me up.
I'm thinking the Firebirds need something similar. Have something like full flaming wings over the entire helmet.
Oh, see that. Okay, so the person to talk to is named Jeff Levac. He's the team president. No, I think they try to do a good job with that. Like, you know, they've got a person that they, you know, people that they work with to do, you know, jerseys and T-shirts and different merchandise and stuff like that. And I think they do a pretty good job. But yeah, I mean, could they give more stuff? I'm sure people would buy it.
They've got a lot of history, a lot of, you know, that they still need to play homage to, and they got to, you know, bring in that culture that surrounds the Firebirds and throughout multiple cities even. So, but yeah, you know, looking at this game, I think it's kind of the best matchup we could wish for. I mean,
I would agree.
Yeah, I know. I agree too. I mean, considering that you have one of the goats of arena football, you know, on the other side of the ball when it comes to Darren Arbette. I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, this is his first arena football championship game since he won it with San Jose. Was it in 16? If I'm not mistaken.
When the trophy disappeared.
Yeah, they took their trophy and went home. But it's good to see, you know, as I said, it's so many ties to old school arena football. Yes, everybody. Yes, it is a new league. Yes, you know, it is a new name. Yes, it is not it's not the Arena Bowl. It's not the Arena Cup. It's not, you know, it is what it is. They are trying to make a name for themselves. You know, positive or negative on how people think about what the name of it is, and we'll see the trophy a little bit later in the tease that was, I guess, leaked or revealed by the league in their social media post yesterday. But it's, you know, it's just a huge plus in a way, and you know, we've seen what could be to come, you know, even with the teasers that Jerry Kurz gave last week on the broadcast. I know Adams, you'll like this, having the return of Eli Gold doing the national television broadcast, at least last week. But it is overall new teams, some new owners, but there's all a tie back. And one thing for you, Sam Rob, that I was thinking for this week, I am so hoping Birds in orange, black pants to make an homage to the '99 championship team. I'm hoping, but I guess we'll have to see.
Well, I think I'm not sure if it's set in stone, but I think they were talking about trying to pay some homage to those teams in the past. Kind of I mean the team had been around as the Firebirds since 1992, and then they went and left Albany for a while there in the early 2000s. There's such an amazing history here that it almost makes sense if they could do something like that. So I'm sure that's all being planned somewhere in a room somewhere, but we'll see if they decide to do something like that. It'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be definitely the Firebirds you remember kind of thing.
This is
Well, the
one
other-
of the few times where fan service, I think, is necessary. It is necessary.
Mhm. Well, the other question too is we never got to see Nashville's alt jerseys this season.
True.
Do they wait and bring them out on the biggest stage? Do they even get them? They supposedly every team's going to have 3, so that'd be kind of a fun time to premiere some new alt jerseys, right?
For
Right
sure.
when everybody's watching.
I'll take a color on color matchup. I don't care.
It's not like colors match, so it's not like they're going to get confused or anything.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if Albany goes all orange and black, and then Nashville goes white, maybe white on white kind of thing, is like that really almost like the color
Mhm.
rush they have in the NFL. They're used to have it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of color rush, they did was it the Jets and Bills, I think, played against each other in the color rush game. So it was all green and all red. And anybody that was colorblind couldn't tell
was
what
about to
team was
say.
what.
the colorblind bowl.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was a disaster.
What was the cat's alternate supposed to be? Was it yellow or was it
Don't
like
know.
Oh,
You
so
don't
it's
know.
No.
complete mystery. Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be something else to pull out.
I mean,
Speaking of
Scott's had his ideas of what we would hope it would be,
Mhm.
but it never came to fruition.
I wonder if
never
that's something that'll happen, this week when they're doing, because I'm sure they're gonna like introduce the teams and when they have the media day on Friday. I think I'm sure they'll do something with that. If they're smart, they do something with that definitely.
And speaking of alt jerseys, there was apparently a plan last year at the Arena Bowl for both teams to wear completely new jerseys that had nothing to do with their team. Like each team was given brand new jerseys that they were supposed to wear,
I
and
remember
they
that.
just went, nope, never saw them, and just let them come out on that. But from what I understand, they got left at the mall.
I was gonna say, were they sponsored? Like, were Albany's sponsored by like Hot Top? I'm trying to think of like Spencer's, and then Billings a Hot Topic. Maybe they were sponsored, and they were like, yeah, we can't have that.
Yeah, it was something like red, white, and blue jerseys for both
Mhm.
teams,
Mhm.
and
I
That's
think I remember that. Yeah. For the American Dream, also it was like red, white, and blue colors for like both
Mhm.
teams. Yeah, weird. I remember those.
somewhere out there's boxes of unused Arena Bowl jerseys from the last Arena Bowl that somebody's got them.
There's
Maybe-
something strong.
Can it be like the losing like championship ones, and they send them to like wherever they send them off somewhere. You get a whole bunch of people that wearing like Bills
Oh,
championship AFC championship gear.
There's some village in Africa that think the Bills are the greatest team ever because they won 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Well, you say that those jerseys supposedly got left at the mall. Maybe the Champ Sports in the mall got a hold of them and put them up for sale at a reduced price.
There you go.
Clearance rack.
It's from what it sounded like, it'd be more like be found in Ross, but yeah. But yeah, like I say, I love. I mean, hats off to Southwest Kansas, Dodge City, and how they how they turned around their season. Same thing, Salina. I was at the game in Salina where they ended. That was it. Southwest Kansas won 22-20. One of the worst games I've ever seen in my life.
Vice TV.
Mhm.
Poor Vice. Poor Vice. But I know that's one thing we need to talk about. But yeah,
I mean,
keep going, Scott. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it was 22-20. Neither kicker could kick it couldn't reach the end zone on kickoffs. It was just a god awful arena football game. After that point, both those teams figured it out.
I was gonna say, yeah. After that game, they seem to be like, you know what, we can do better, guys.
Mhm.
And
they
they
brought in quarterbacks, they brought in
Mhm.
kickers, they just and they adapted better. I'm not gonna say they're fully there, but they adapted better to the arena game than what they were doing prior. They were trying to bring in that outdoor and indoor game into the arena, and it just didn't work.
I think
So-
I think those teams, you know, like when they came and played Albany, both of those teams gave Albany a great game. Like, you know, and the Morton kid I know is up for I think he's up for offensive player of the year and definitely rookie of the year. You know, he was tough to stop. And then for Salina, you know, they, you know, in the first game, the game went to overtime, you know, Rakeem Cato was a quarterback. He's elusive as hell. He's a great athlete. And then, you know, on this last week in the semifinal, they faced Javin Kilgo, another great athlete, but they were able to, you know, to handle him. You know, both of those teams had, you know, great resurgences late in the year.
I mean, what's there to say with Albany other than they've just been a juggernaut all year long, you know? But you know, like I said in the show, though, they've also shown they're not unbeatable. You just need to play your absolute best game if you want to stand a chance against beating Albany. And that still might not be enough, but that's. But I think it's doable.
Being around them all year, Coach Ware he's motivated from the loss in the Arena Bowl last year, the brawl at the mall. A lot of guys, I would think I want to say at least 10, maybe more. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Guys that played last year for Albany and then came back, now are playing for the Firebirds in 25. Every one of those guys is, you know, it's just been that motivation every day at practice. It's like, we're getting back and we're it's unfinished business. I mean, it's a cliche. It's a little bit of a sports cliche, but it really is. We got there last year and couldn't get it done. And, you know, now they're getting it done and making teams pay for it. 98-12, 100-12, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So they're motivated.
But Adam, how does that make you feel though? I mean, as somebody like myself and Randy and Scott and to the point, a little point also to Adam too, because he was around the 2000s for the Grand Rapids Rampage, stuff like that. How does that make you feel though? Because yes, we want to have parity in this league itself. But yet when the most things that we're going to probably remember for the Washington Wolfpack are not only the uniforms and helmets, but their kicker, who just happened to have the I haven't checked the stats, but considering how his punting was or his field goal tries, where he had the worst percentage, I'm sure, in any Arena Football League year ever played.
I have thoughts about that whole situation. What's
your thoughts on the scores though too? Because, you know,
the only like, okay, so the 100-12 against Corpus wasn't, indicative because they were missing all their, you know, like you said, they were going through like they've lost all their guys and they were literally rebuilding the team at that point. Even if you take that one away, you know, yeah, the final score for the Wolfpack game was 98-12, but at the same time, Albany had 2 straight kickoffs that bounced off the net and just luckily bounced away, and the kickoff team came down, and instead of the first guy trying to go after it, he goes and takes out the returner, and somebody else snags it for a touchdown. Like, you know, anything you're coming off the net like that, that's, you know, that's all. It's luck at that point. Like how that ball's going to bounce, you have no idea how that ball's going to bounce. So, you know what I'm saying? So yes, they would have beat them by a lot, but I don't, you know, without some of that, they don't beat them like that. And then they've also had some close games this year. Salina brought them all the way to, you know, to overtime. And the only reason they won, and there's argument to say that Salina should have won that game in the last second. And then, you know, they get called for the illegal defense, I think it was, or they get, you know, something happens, they couldn't get it. And then on the overtime drive, Jamal Hickbottom jumps up and makes a play on the defensive line to knock it down a 4th down pass. And then, you know, Albany's got the ball at the 8, and it's academic from there. So Nashville played them close twice. First one was 42-34 in Nashville, and that was a game that Nashville led by 12 at one point in the game. They, you know, were doing all right. and Albany came back and kind of shut them off in the second half. And then the second one was 71-55 in a game that wasn't even a 16-point game. I think Albany scored late in that game to kind of have the final 71-55 like final.
Mm-hmm.
Albany is really good. They are, like I said, they're motivated to a man. Like anybody we've talked to, it's like unfinished business. Everything we've done is now for this, for Saturday's championship. But they've got to play good. They can't just go in with it doesn't Nashville's not that good, or you know what I mean. Like they and they're not going to. I'm just saying they can't play with that mindset.
No, and I'm not taking that away from Coach Ware. I mean, he's been a hell of an arena football mind since he's come in, despite what happened last year and how he came in this year. I mean, really, we need to talk about indoor teams that have gone into the championship undefeated. And this is encompassing everything. We never had one in arena football unless you want to count the AF2. But to me, Quad City has the asterisk next to the name for cheating. But then you got about basically what was an arena football team in Chicago when the Slaughter won the CIF. No, help me here, guys. CIFL. Yeah, it's
CPIFL. CPIFL.
Yeah, CPIFL. Yeah,
Continental Indoor Football League.
Yes, when they won the championship with basically an arena football roster,
right? Because
of what happened, because the league had folded the year prior. Everybody came over from the rush, so there haven't been very many teams that have gone undefeated. And obviously they're trying to make a huge, always trying to make a name for themselves, stuff like that. But I mean, I can't take anything away from Coach Ware, and I understand that. And again, we talk about also Nashville, smoked their opponent in their last regular season game too. So it's not just Albany. Mm-hmm. I was just really thinking about parity. I'm hoping things can change next year slightly when it comes to the talent. Hopefully they will get some coaches in here. That are able to go from day one when it comes to knowing the game, because sure, it seems that a little bit of the indoor game has been able to be thrown into it slightly, but you still, I don't understand how it took some of these coaches so long to wait as long as they did to finally learn the game, get that kicker, use the nets to their advantage, get a good quarterback with arena football experience. And from there, I just don't know. I just didn't get it.
You mentioned the way the scoring patterns and whatnot, and then I put the QR code to our Scoregami page we've got set up. Just looking at that, you take that 22-point win, it's just an outlier, take it out. Get rid of the 98 and 100-point win as outliers, throw those out the door. Those are just freak occurrences. For the most part, we had 5 games end in 40 points. It's not a ton, but that's a solid enough score for arena football. But we had a good cluster between 35 and 53, and another cluster between 57 and 71. And those are solid winning scores. The thing that hurts, I think, is the losing scores. We had 3 games where the losing team had 12 points. 3 games where the losing team had 7 points. One where the team had 4 points. I mean, those are the things that we got to get the losing score up. So it's the have-nots. We just got to, as a league, just bring the have-nots up. And I think it's honestly could be incredibly competitive, because after that, I mean, the highest we had a team lose with 58 points, a team lose with 56, 55, 52, a couple in the 40s. I mean, there was some good play. There were some good games this year. Just those outliers are just big outliers.
Yeah. Can I somewhat disagree? And I say this having talked with and been around these guys. They really, I mean, the old AFL, the one that we're familiar with from like the 90s and earlier, the idea was, the winning team's going to be up around 60, 65, the Kurt Warner, Iowa Barnstormers, thing. And Brandon Cisse, the defensive coordinator, who's also up for assistant coach of the year, has really taken a lot of pride in holding defenses down. So, again, the 12s, the 7s, maybe those are outliers, like just bad, a 4 or whatever. They scored like a 4 points or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But like, some of what Albany's done this year is to turn up the wick defensively. and they did that, and they got guys to do that on purpose. Where you've got a great defensive backfield, you've got a good Mac linebacker, good Jack linebacker, you've got those defensive line guys. Zeke Rose, is the captain and also up for Defensive Player of the Year. Harold Love is down there, DJ Walden, Drew Singleton. Like, they've got guys that they've pride themselves on it. So so a game that's ends up, I don't know, I don't have the scores right in front of me, but but a game that ends up 50 something to 30 something isn't like a bad score.
No, not at all.
They just got it done. You know what I mean?
But if you're scoring less than 20, this game is designed to score. No matter how good the defense is, this game is designed to score, and you should be at least scoring 20. I mean, that seems like that's the bare bones minimum for a bad team.
And then if you look at it, I just pulled it up. Like, the first game that they played against Southwest Kansas, they only scored 20.
Mm-hmm.
And Salina had 27 in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, they've been doing that all year.
Oh yeah, no, Albany's a great defensive team. There's no question about that.
But there's a difference between those teams at the beginning of the year than how they ended up.
Also true.
Earlier in the year, in my opinion, they were indoor teams. By the end of the year, they were arena football teams. The coach was finally, Coach O, as an example, finally got it. Coach Thomas made some tweaks too, and finally got it. Even in Billings, they tweaked their quarterbacks from here and there, but they finally got a right kicker, which they needed.
So is that just like the fact that Coach Ware and Coach Arbet are arena coaches? They're not just indoor football coaches, they're arena coaches. And so they've got a little bit more of the, and of course Damon is the general manager also. So he can go, okay, I'm going to go and recruit guys, or I'm going to go and find guys that, he has connections with. And it's like, okay, you were a great player outside, but can you do it inside? Can you play the arena game the same way? And I think he's done a great job of getting guys that transition from outdoor to the indoor and indoor to the arena, game. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a kind of a thing where those coaches, they're going to have an extra thing because those coaches have done it in the arena setting.
Well, Nashville beat Southwest Kansas both times they played them because of coaching. It wasn't lack of skill. It wasn't the skill of the players were that much better. It was little tweaks that you can tell this is Arbet's touch on the game. And that's why Nashville won their 2 games against Southwest Kansas. It's just those little fine movements, the clock management. That's why Southwest Kansas lost their last 3 games, was their clock management. Those little arena football specific things that, an indoor coach, or in the case an outdoor coach, just isn't familiar with, and hasn't had that experience with.
Yeah, I totally agree with the point that Tim was making, that early on it was more indoor football than arena football. And I don't remember which game I was watching, but it was about halfway through the season. I'm watching a game and I'm like, oh my God, this is arena football. And I've been watching all the games all year long, but it just didn't feel like arena football. And then there came a point where, this is more like the arena football I remember, going back to the year 2000 when I started following arena football. So changes were made. Teams adapted, styles changed. On our podcast, we talk quite a bit about instead of being under center, it was quarterback was back 5 yards, taking the snap, and I never remembered seeing that in the old days of arena football. The quarterback was almost always under center, and went from there. And so when they started doing that late in the season, I'm like, yeah, okay, I remember this. I like this style of football.
In fact, I remember, I can't remember which game it was, but later on the season, there was one of the announcers, one of the commentators was talking about how, wow, they're taking the ball from under center. That's unheard of in this sport. It's like, no, that's actually the default.
Remember that. And I thought you must not have watched much arena football in your days, Mr. Announcer, because that's the way it used to be.
But indoor ball, they go from the shotgun all the time. But indoor ball is a slower brand of football than arena football. Yeah. So I mean, that's where that comes in.
Yeah, and again, I mean, and it's no. By the way, it's not a slight to Coach Thomas or Coach O. They got better. That's all that mattered. They got better, and they got used to the game. Last year, completely different, in my opinion. Completely different versus what it is this year. And as I said, use the game, use what you have to your advantage. Coach Ware has experience in indoor and in arena football, because I think his last was in the NAL. I'll say arena football for the NAL, because it's either nets or no nets. They can't decide. But he has his experience, and that it's a coach who's able to basically go into his Rolodex and to say, okay, this player. It's the same thing with Coach Arbed. It's the same thing with Coach Arbed.
And he was in the IFL.
Yeah. I think if you're able to bring some of these other guys, if some of these coaches have some more experience, would it be the exact same thing as if they had to start a team for us from scratch? Yeah, for sure. I mean, and also same thing with Billings' head coaching staff. There's a wealth of arena football experience there. Mm-hmm. So again, it can. Again, I'm just happy that everything was able to change. These coaches will get it. And as I said, it does take time. It did get competitive at the end of the year, except for a couple of teams. But overall, I think I'd say we're at the championship game. All 8 teams are here. I think it's just a matter of taking advantage of what they have so far, and hoping that the league will be able to use what has happened in order to promote themselves. Whether it be on next year's TV contract, more on social media, however it's able to be done, just to use to their advantage what they have in front of them. And again, talking about TV, I wanted to get this to you before you, obviously, if is TV. What were your thoughts on Vice? And I'll throw in Evergreen also, because they've been a great partner also. What are your thoughts on what Evergreen and Vice has brought to the AF1 this year?
I thought Evergreen was great. I love the fact that I can, if I miss a game the next morning, or sometimes even right after the game, they've had the stream right there, I can catch back up. I think that's been great. For me, especially, like, hey, I missed the game, but I'm going to go back. I'm going to jump through, see what I missed. And I thought the Vice broadcasts were great. I missed Ari and Sed leaving earlier in the season. But I do think it was cool that they gave opportunities to some of the local broadcasters for certain teams, to get out there, do some calling. There's some that could have used maybe an index card of some basic arena rules before stepping on the mic. But other than that, I thought a lot of the guys did a pretty good job this year.
Yeah, I get Vice on my satellite system, so that was really easy for me to go right to my regular TV and just find, it's like it's channel 121 for me, so I can see when it's coming up and get the info and whatnot. Evergreen was great though when I couldn't watch it. There was one night when I had my laptop on and I'm watching the game on Evergreen, and I had the Vice game on at the same time, so watching both games. Yeah, they've both been really good this year as far as connectivity and the quality of the stream. They were both really, really good this year,
and not a lot of bad streaming issues. I think I can only remember the one game where they had that 3 games that almost at the exact same time, and it was just a late start, and then they started in the second quarter. I want to say it was the Washington Oregon game, right? Where
there's one more. There's one more. It was the Billings game. Also had some huge streaming issues.
And good chance of his Washington game is probably an Oregon game. So
yeah.
that matchup happened a couple times.
Even then, at two games on Evergreen, at least, having issues out of the 45 whatever games all year, I'd say that's a win. Mm-hmm. That's a win if you're this league. And all the Vice games, other than maybe some of the lopsided scores, also a win. Like Tim, you guys brought it up a whole lot. Your first season, and you have a national TV contract, and your first, that's a big deal. And I think going forward, this league's got so much going for it. There's the bumps, we talked about it. There's stuff they could learn from. There's been slight improvements as the year's gone along. And this league, the guys running the league, they show that they're willing to learn from what didn't work and move forward with it. That gives me so much confidence going into next year. So hopefully, maybe it's not adding 6 teams. Hopefully it's like, hey, let's add 2 teams in strategic markets and go from there. Let's not, get too crazy with it. Let's build on what worked. And I think this league's actually setting up for a lot of success in the future, the way they're doing things right now.
And the production value increased quite a bit when it came to the Vice broadcasts. Even from the littlest things that people don't notice, like the in between graphics, in between the instant the replays and stuff like that. It changed throughout the year. I don't know how many people noticed. Did anybody happen to notice, by the way, that this week's game they added like a swoosh sound to it? I don't know if it.
I think I did catch myself like looking around, like what the heck was that noise? Watching the game, I was like, "I a bird in the house? Like what's happening?"
Yeah, I said just these little tweaks that have made, have been good for the broadcast. And on top of that, too, unlike last year when the games were on CBS Sports Network, or even prior when Arena Football was on CBS Sports Network, ratings, we couldn't see what the ratings were, and also it was exclusive to CBS only. Here they're exclusive to Vice for approximately 72 hours, and then they go up on Evergreen now. If you happen to miss the game, then you can watch it. So it's been a huge plus from props to everybody in the league office, to Adamant Communications, being able to get this thing, improving it for a week-to-week basis. As I said, the minor things that people and fans may not notice, we do notice. A lot of us did notice throughout the year, and it's nothing but a huge positive. And I can't wait to see what happens in 26.
And the reality is,
Vice and somebody else, who the hell knows?
And the reality is the people that are watching us and watching these kind of programs are also the people that notice. I mean, it's this is meant for the diehards. You're not going to pick up a random stray for a round table for the Arena Crown. It's just not going to happen.
No, but I'll say, and I think we made it on once on the top 10 for ESPN. I'm not going to complain.
No,
that gives it. You know what? It gives us some sort of legitimacy, in my opinion. If you can make it down,
Manny got the most views though.
Yeah, I know. But if you get on that, and if you get on John Boy Media, which they are on once this year also, so if you can get on one of those two, ESPN, then John Boy, in that particular order, still you're getting eyeballs on it, and maybe somebody will pick it up and be able to say, okay, AF1, Arena. They'll say, oh, Arena Football is back as an example. Let me see where I can watch it. And hopefully they'll be able to pick. It'll show in the ratings this week for the Arena Cup game.
Adam, what'd you think of the
broadcast? Crown.
It's gonna take
put $1 in the jar.
Level mistake there, Tim. I'm disappointed in you.
So I was saying, like, I thought Evergreen and Vice both were excellent this year as partners. Streaming, and then obviously the TV. I like the fact that they used local announcers, because then you don't end up with somebody calling it's Albany, but they were doing it as like Albany, like Al, like who's Al?
That happens more than you know, Adam. Trust me, I correct them in my head whenever I hear it myself.
Every time, right? And so again, knowing Albany more than I do some of the others, obviously, they had Andy Santillo and Tom Goslowski, do the thing. So they obviously are local guys. They both have been around sports. They've been around local sports. They've been around this team for a long time. They've both been fans forever. That, like you said, that having that gives it legitimacy. I know in Nashville, having Eli Gold, who has been, of the voice of Alabama football, NASCAR, like all these different things. And then have him, call Nashville games. I mean, again, that goes to people, somebody, maybe they're just flipping around the TV or something, and they hear his voice and they're like, oh, okay. Like, I know that voice, like that's a familiar voice to me. And then they stay and maybe they watch for a few minutes. And, oh, this is kind of cool. Boom, you got one. So I think using the local things like that, or using, ones that really know the market. So, with ours in Albany, that in Nashville, etc. I also like the fact, that they had the MVP of the game, and that, and even having something like the Real American Beer, and having a name like Hulk Hogan, even if you never watched pro wrestling in your life, he's a name that whether it's through movies or whatever. So it's like, again, somebody might see that and be like, oh, like I know that, and they might pick it up. So the way that I think they did it this year was impressive, and I think that these guys in the league office are going to look at it in the off season and go, how can we tweak it to be even better for 2026?
Also, that talk about tweaks. The one thing, I'll be Debbie Downer in this, because yes, I love the broadcast. The platforms were amazing. The platforms did a great job. The cameraman needs some practice.
Yeah.
Yes, agree totally.
Even
Did
though-
anybody else think that,
Cameraman was like a smidge behind.
did anybody else think that the whites were kind of blown out depending on which camera they were using in Clarksville this past week?
A little bit.
I don't think it was just me, because I think
There,
depending on
there were times it was hard to tell because you could also see the sunlight coming in onto the field at one point. I was
that
wondering.
was,
maybe
at the end of the game. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool though.
it kind of gave me. I didn't get to go to the ball at the mall like a few of you folks, but that's what that reminded me of. I was like, this is as close to the ball at the mall as I'm probably going to get this year. That sliver of sunlight I see there in the end zone.
That's actually, so it's funny you bring that up, because when you're talking about those, all the different opportunities that are out there, and name recognition, and how you get that one person going, oh yeah, arena football. That's what I saw more of than anything at the Brawl at the Mall, was people walking by going, and literally hearing the people behind me walking by going, oh man, arena football. I used to love going to that when I was a kid. Oh, arena football is still around. This is so cool. Oh, arena foot, like the entire game. People were walking by, making comments, reliving memories. And it's a shame. We probably will never go back to that mall, because the experience and the exposure we got from that one game was absolutely huge. And I mean, Randy, you were there. I had a blast.
Well, I did too.
So I thought it was a cool venue. Definitely a little quirky, but just the amount of people that turned their heads and stopped and legitimately watched the game, that never would have even known that it was going on had it not been there.
Yeah. And there was I don't know if seeing it on TV really captured the experience of being there. It's kind of like going to the Grand Canyon. Yeah, you can see it on TV all you want, but until you go there, you don't know just how awesome it is. And I think that's how that game was. I mean, I spent one day just walking around the whole mall, looking at all the different stores and stuff, and figuring out everything in the mall. And then that one area is like an ice skating rink that they have for ice skating. I don't know if it's all year long or whatever, but it was just so cool to see it in person, and then to see it on TV. It still looked awesome on TV, but it's nothing like being there. It was so much fun. I'm so glad I went to that game. It was a long drive from Michigan to get there, but it was worth it. I had a great time.
My question for you, Randy, is how many Annie Ann's pretzels did you stop at while you were walking around? Okay, that's what I want to know. That's the real question on our minds.
There was one very close to one of the end zones.
Yeah, it was right there on the corner.
And they had another pastry place like right across from that. And in fact, I even in our video, I took video of it. Because I'm looking at this huge case with all these pastries in it. And I said to the lady, I said, do you mind if I film some of this? She goes, no, go ahead. So I just walked from one end to the other with all these gorgeous Italian like pastries. And oh my gosh, I grabbed a couple to take home with me that night.
Of course you did.
So Randy, did you have Darius Prince many? Did you have Clint Dozell many? Or did you have Eddie Brown many?
Boy, I wish I'd had a third of any of those guys. But I had enough for a couple of pastries and a couple of slices of pizza to take back to the room with me that night. But no, it was just a very, very awesome experience. And like you said, Scott, we'll probably never go back there again. So I'm glad I went when I did. And it was a great way to end that season that had so many ups and downs and just bad memories of that season. To end it like that was a really, really high note. So I'm glad I went.
Any before we talk about the name of the new championship, the trophy, any hot takes from you guys? I know that we may have not brought up. Anything in particular that you might want to get off your chest and give us your take on something, because we all saw different things. Not all of us got to go to a game in person. We saw stuff on television, stuff like that. Any hot takes or anything like that? Any of you guys have before we move on to the name and
I
the
have
movie
one.
and stuff like that?
I have one about the viralness of Mr. Manny Higuera. I get that there's no such thing as bad publicity. And then the fact that Manny took the viralness of his video and turned it into something with he's got like a kicking challenge that they had on the AF1 socials, which I thought was great. I just hate the fact that people watch that video and the only reason, here's my hot take. I believe the only reason Harold Love was suspended is because Manny Higuera is 5'5" and 300 pounds. Because he's not your typical kicker size. And so I think if he was a normal kicker and he just took out a kicker, like, okay, like, sure, he gets penalized, whatever, but that's, because that video got viral, I believe that's why Harold Love was suspended for the semifinal. Hot take.
I think it's
Well,
definitely that's why it got more attention than it would have. But he was flagged multiple times in that game.
He was.
He
was.
Is that why he got suspended? Maybe. Did he still kind of deserve the suspension? Yeah.
You wanted hot takes. You got a hot take.
No, I know.
But that's fair.
What I thought was funny is Scott and I were talking to Gary Compton last week, and we were talking about how we noticed that, and through anybody who's been around arena football long enough knows that the league usually does not mention suspensions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. I think it was the day after that we talked about this, Gary, the league announced the suspension.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's good news and there's bad news for a league, but it's all news. It's all getting it out there, and
and hundreds of thousands of hits, hundreds of thousands of views on that hit.
I think it was like 7 million at one point, but that was even a few days ago. So I don't even know what it is now, but it was up. It was past 7 million last I had heard.
That got attention.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
it's a big deal.
Okay. Yeah. So social media is a thing. I mean, it wasn't in our old AFL and stuff like that. It wasn't the case. It was,
I remember last year at the Arena Bowl, they were thrilled when a highlight from the Arena Bowl during the game went viral, and it only had 300,000 hits at that point.
Oh yeah. What was the site?
I don't know.
I know it off the top of my head.
It's been a year.
Yeah, I know who it is, though. I know who it is. I just can't.
Was it Barstool?
I think it was Barstool.
Because I remember, because I couldn't make it to the game. I was actually at a friend's party that weekend, and I get a screenshot from somebody saying, "Yo, you guys were mentioned in a big article about arena football at a mall." Like, I opened it up, and it was just a big story from Barstool about arena football. One of Dad's videos, I think, was one of the first things you see on that article, and then they were just talking about the game, which is really cool to see.
Yeah,
so,
that only got 300,000 hits. This Manny thing blew up.
Yeah, the Manny thing blew up. Because that came out like shortly after around the suspension. I felt like I heard about those like nearly at the same time that day that the Manny kicking challenge came out and the suspension came out.
Right, it's using things to their advantage, and it good and bad. A guy uses PEDs. It's bad, but we're in the news. A coach, a team gets fined $50,000 for too many coaches or overpaying. It's bad news, but it's still news. It's still out there, and it is what it is. And for me, I think I know it differed per arena, and it kind of goes to. And Scott, you're the outlier for this one, obviously, because you have one behind you, is the balls, game balls. Considering that most cities had their own unique identifier on the bottom of them, their own ads if they had them, besides the TransFinder logo, I kind of find it disappointing that a lot of the teams didn't allow fans to keep them. I found it disappointing that they didn't have them for sale. On the team issue website, I would just hope that teams would be able to sell them. Because it's, we saw. It's funny. We saw how many of the old garbage ones from last year ended up showing up on eBay. Just all of a sudden, bam, there they were.
They were in Ross. So
Yeah,
people were finding them in Ross.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I just wish, I would hope going forward, teams would allow them to be available. I mean, hey, Billings is moving. Steve Titus, I'll take one.
That's a marketing, that's a marketing team thing, but not per team. Although each team, I'm sure, has people that do work on that kind of thing in their organizations. That's a league thing. Like, hey guys, let's sell replica footballs, and you can throw logos on them, and you can throw whatever, ads or whatever you want on them. It just is a revenue stream that they could and should take advantage of. People would buy it.
Well, and it's a staple of arena football. You get to keep the ball, but you got to throw the player back.
Yes.
I mean, that's how it's always been. In fact,
I
got
things that this year we had one of the, I forget what game it was, but a guy went up and over the boards and took out 3 kids on the corner board. Okay, you can keep the ball, but throw the guy back.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I got a ball in Dodge City when I'm out there for the game against Nashville, and 30 seconds later, here comes a guy swapping it out. I'm like, what do you mean? Are you guys almost out of balls? Why do you need this back? Because I didn't know that this was a thing yet. And he's like, no, you just can't keep it here. We got to swap it with this autograph ball. Okay, whatever. I mean, I've got plenty. I'm ultimately good, but but it was strange. Like I say, if it's one thing, if you're running out of balls, you got to keep game balls and make sure the game can keep going. I totally get that, but this was early in the season. I was like, I'm kind of confused, and yeah, it is what it is. They did say, after asking about it, they did say there's something they're going to work on for next year to try to streamline it and get everybody on the same page.
My thought is this: if they do make Arena Crown balls for the game this weekend, why? If you're not going to allow anybody else to get them, why?
That defeats the purpose.
But again, I don't know.
Now, if they are, hey guys, I'd love an Arena Crown ball.
Exactly.
Dad, do you have a hot take? You usually have a hot take.
Yeah, I was going to say, other Adam, Randy, any other hot takes?
Adam's the one with all the hot takes.
Whoa, easy there, killer. I think my biggest thing lately has just been, I really want Eli Gold to do this stinking Arena Crown game. That is the absolute must-have. No offense to the Albany guy. I don't know if they're going with the home broadcast because it's in their arena. But my goodness, if you could get Eli Gold to do the game on a national scale for a championship, it would just make it better. I was saying during our show that, Eli Gold automatically classes up the joint to a different level. I was watching that game on Sunday. It was 7-6, and I was on the edge of my seat because he was calling that game. Every word, every sentence out of this man's mouth just made me care about the game that much more, because he says it with honesty and he says it with integrity, and he knows what he's talking about most of the time. Sure, there's a couple little flubs, little bits of information that we've all screwed up. We've all been there. But 98% of the time, this man brings it. And when he brings it, it is pure gold, pun intended.
Well, he's been doing it a long time.
I know. Yeah, TNN days. Last time he did, I think, was 2005, and the second to last year, the NBC contract. It made enough of an impression in his career, guys, that he even put a full chapter in his book about arena football. And there are some stories, I will admit, in that book itself for that one chapter. So it made a huge impact on him, and that's why I was glad to see that he was back for radio that last year. And then I was happy to see if we don't get Eli this week, I was just happy to say that he did his first arena football game in a long time last week, and I was happy with it. So
yeah. Well, I'm going to piggyback on Adam with this hot take. Not so much Eli, but I actually like the games better without Ari and Said. And I love Ari and Said to death. Great dudes, but they were so detached from all these teams, and they were doing these games remote, so they weren't in-house.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get up and feel any kind of energy when you're not in the same place the game's going on. And bringing in the local guys that knew the players and knew the crowd, I think that added more to the game. You know, again, nothing against Ari and Said. Again, I adore those guys, but I think that it was a great move to move on from them this season. So, there you go. There's my hot one.
I say pair Eli Gold with Ari Wolf, and there's a team for you.
What about Eli with JJ Rhetoric?
I pretty much take Eli with anybody. I thought
JJ did a good job back in 19 when he was part of the main, one of the main broadcast teams in 2019. So I can't. As long as they work well together, that's all that matters. As long as they feed off each other, that's all that matters.
And then if I gotta have a vote for a sideline guy, Colin Taylor.
Yeah, CT
I'd bring
was
him in for on the sideline. I think he would be. Well, they've got to get that guy in the broadcast booth somehow because he's just great in front of camera.
I just hope whoever calls the game, I just want it to not feel like a homer broadcast. Like no offense to the Albany guys, that it was maybe just a little too much of a homer broadcast for a playoff game at least. Like rest of the season, totally fine, but for me, watching a playoff game, I don't know. That was one of my big bones. Like every throw Sam Casanova made was the greatest throw of all time. Throwing a little bump pass and it was the greatest throw of all time. I'm like, can we just dial it in just a smidge, just a smidge.
Yeah, but Adam, that was evergreen. I mean, I understand your point, but I will admit any guys that were local, I felt that they were able to tone it down enough. I've seen the Albany guys do it many times when they did it on Vice. They were able to tone it down. But I get what you're saying. But I mean, it's funny. You're on Vice, national broadcast. You're on Evergreen, technically local. Think of it as a local broadcast. So I get your point. But I think on Vice they ended up doing a pretty good job when they made the switch from Arian said.
And if they do that, they're on a Vice broadcast, I will, all the credit in the world. I don't know. It was just watching a playoff game. I know it was on Evergreen, like you said, more of a local feel. But I was just hoping for just a little bit more, just rein it in just a smidge. That's just me. I know not everybody's going to feel like that. I know Randy tells me all the time I'm just, going a little too far with it, but it's okay.
When they mixed the Billings guys with the Albany guys, I thought that went incredible.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I would even go with that. Get a couple guys from the two different, like maybe Eli and Gaz. I mean,
that'd be a lot in one room.
It would be a three-man. Have it be Andy, Gaz, and Eli. That's it. The best of all the worlds. And nobody that will say Albany.
No.
Or Selena.
Right.
Selena.
Yeah. Had to learn. Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about it. Really is an elephant in the room. Let's talk about the name of the championship game because it's been either overwhelmingly positive or very, very overwhelmingly negative when it came to the name itself. I know we got a lot of old school guys here who lived through the Arena Bowl for the many, many years and summarily the Arena Cup, named for AF2. Nest Adam, what was your first thought when you heard the name of the championship game?
I thought it was all right. I mean, I knew, that they weren't going to be able to use the Arena Bowl because that's, a different, intellectual property, that kind of thing. But I think, the idea that you're playing for a trophy, your idea that you're playing, you know what I mean? So I think Arena Crown is all right. I didn't have any super negative or super positive feelings. I think it's workable for what it is.
Scott,
kind of the same. I want to see more how they're going to use it. I know Tim. I know you've had some hashtags. I've thrown some hashtags out there. Quest for the Crown, road to Arena Crown. It's not bad. You're gonna crown a champion. So I like it. I know it's not. Am I gonna say am I wowed by it? No. But it's serviceable. I think we can have some fun with this one.
I have an idea. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. You're good.
They need to go to the local Burger King and grab 40 crowns. And at the end of the game, when they're doing the trophy presentation, right on the thing.
I don't know about that.
Everybody gets a bottle of Crown Royal at the end of.
I see that. Okay, that I'm okay with.
Raise your hand if you have a Burger King crown sitting right next to you, Randy.
When we were doing our NFL picks last week or last year, I crowned myself the king of picks, or the picks king, and I got a Burger King crown, and I wore it on that. And yeah, it's sitting over there on the floor. I can't reach it from here.
You got 2 Burger King
I
crowns.
have 2 of them sitting on the floor over here. Yes,
which is more than all of us sitting here combined.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, a few weeks ago, Adam and I came up with a bunch of possible names of what they could call the game. And I still stand by one of the ones that I said. I said they should call it the Jerry Kurz Cup. And Cup was spelled with a K. The Kurz Cup. It's got alliteration. I know Jerry wouldn't like anything like that, but it just made sense. You had the Foster Trophy, now you've got the Kurz Cup.
The thing that actually struck me as odd that I was thinking about earlier, it's not one word. It's Arena
I know.
Crown instead of Arena Bowl.
You know what? It's funny is I've actually corrected myself, and originally I was putting Road to the Arena Crown. It's Road to Arena Crown. It's sort of like Arena Bowl. It's kind of the same exact way. But I still think the quest we've all come up with some interesting stuff. Quest for the Arena Crown. I think mine was last week. I think you guys mentioned on your podcast too, Randy and Adam, was the inauguration for the first ever Arena Crown champion, or for the Arena Crown. And it's funny. Either right away I hate it or I don't like a name. I was okay with the name too. I really had no issue because we all knew it wasn't going to be Arena Bowl. We all knew it wasn't going to be Arena Bowl.
Yeah.
And you really couldn't have anything that tied to the old ways when it came to the trademarks and stuff. So I was okay with it. I was just curious to know how they were going to use it. And, the logo itself, will it be the same next year, or will it evolve? I'm sure it will evolve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, again, I was fine. I was fine. I was fine with the name. It's a championship name. Once we'll talk about the trophy, I think that represents it quite well. But I was okay with it.
Gotta get those sponsors. Gotta get the sponsors.
There you go. And they're Canadian, so I can't complain. Football, Adam. What was your thought when you saw the logo?
I think I sat on it for a little bit when I first read it, because I knew I wasn't crazy about it at first. I was like, let me sit with it at least for an hour before I tweet anything, before I really put the thoughts together. And I wasn't crazy about it at first, but the more I thought about it, I was like, what else can you name it? We've kind of run out of names for title games across most of the, indoor/arena leagues that are still around today. Like we were talking about our podcast today, the IFLs is the IFL National Championship. It's like, okay.
Don't even get me started on
that. The NALs is NAL Championship. To me right now, the most interesting is the Arena Mania for the Arena League.
TAL. I do like Arena Mania.
That's a great name for a championship. Like, it's awesome. So Arena Crown, while it's not terrible and it's not the greatest thing, it's something that can grow on it. And it was something you guys kind of brought up last week that I was like, you know what? There's so much that they can do with this. I like the idea of, like, does the team next year get to wear a crown patch? Do you do the gold around the jersey, around the neckline, or maybe do a gold face mask for the champs? Or they could do so much. I like the idea of, like, how in a lot of the soccer leagues or football over in Europe, where they add a star every time you win a title onto your logo, something like that. Or you go the year with a crown, like when the teams play on the Rose Bowl, some teams incorporate the little rose in there for the game. Do that for the season. If it's a cat or the Firebird, have them with a crown on it. And what 2 logos are more perfect for that kind of thing, where you got cool cat wearing a crown, or you got the Firebird wearing a crown? Like, it's just, the possibilities are actually endless and fun. And I think that's what this league needs to stand out. And I think you can hate the name, you can meme the name with all your Burger King memes or what have you, the crown them, with Denny Green meme going around out there too. Like, but I think at the end of the day, it's unique. There's no other league that does it, and it's from a simple premise of you're going to crown a champion, and I think it works.
Yeah, or do like the MLB does with the Batman logo. I think the Dodgers currently have a gold one on the back of their jersey for the entire year. So
Yeah, something like that. I mean, make it stand out, make it unique, and you know, you can sell those commemorative patches next year at your games for your fans. Everybody, like,
Mhm.
it's so much cool stuff you could do with just the crown iconography itself. Maybe the crown logo evolves. I like that they incorporated the 8 spots on there for the 8 teams this year. Maybe that stays going forward, or maybe every year it evolves to the number of teams that are a part of the league that year. So, like, if we have 10 teams next year, maybe add a 10, 2 more to the crown.
I don't know if we get up to 30 teams, that gets a little crowded.
you know what? I kind of like the iconography of this one. It's the original. I know it's a hockey reference too, but it's like the original 8.
Yeah. I mean, and if they stick with that, that's also cool. But I think that these guys, whoever they get to design the logo going forward, if they want to tweak it, there's so much they could do.
Mhm.
And I think that's something you want going forward, is you don't want to be beholden to something, but you also want to be able to evolve with it and let it, become what it's going to become, because it's just year one.
Well, and a logo has been presented with either stark white or pitch black as the background. They're not complementary backgrounds to the logo, which is very bright, bold colors. I'm going to go ahead and pimp another thing here on the site. I set up a smartwatch face for the crown today, and just like a darker gray, and all of a sudden it mutes the rest of that logo, so it's not so in your face. Put it behind a busier background. It's not going to look quite as bold and in front of you than it is with a pitch black or the stark white. So I think it probably could have been presented better on its debut. But
Maybe they could do something like what I liked when they unveiled the 4 playoff shirts and the 4 playoff logos for each team. Like the playoff logo changed to the colors of each team, and I thought that was cool. Why not do something like that for the crown too? Like, you have a Nashville colored one, and you have an Albany colored one. I like that idea of being able to incorporate different teams into that logo too. And then maybe whoever wins, that's the logo. Like, your color gets to become the logo for that year's Arena Crown, or however you want to do it. Just spitballing. It's not a perfect idea. Randy, I see the disappointment on your face over there.
Albany already took Steve Titus's Maserati and turned it into Firebird colors, so they're used to that. They can do that. I think they can make it orange.
I think we'll say I've seen it with the white background. Sorry, the white outline. I think it looks good. The way that, and again, it depends on how it's going to be shown. Again, it'll be a year by year, thing by year basis thing. I mean, look how many times the whole thing that the NFL did with their logos and how they switched up. Same thing with the CFL, they changed it up. It seems like everybody's changing it. They've all gone to they went to something original. I know there were different homages to the within the Arena Crown logo itself. Because I was able to speak with the person who designed it, and I think I mentioned it last week. Did that get on air last week? I can't remember if they got on air last week, Scott, or not. But the ball itself is kind of an homage to Arena Bowl 31, because if everybody remembers, that was the logo for Arena Bowl 31 was a ball.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the every designer has their own reasons for how they've designed it, and again, I'm fine with it. And then obviously that brings us to, it was a surprise that the league kind of I don't know if they revealed it, they dropped it, they were trying to hide it. I don't know how people, because we really didn't get much traction until you pointed it out, Scott, today. I think that the league gave us I guess we'll call it a sneak peek until we could see the high res glam shots of the new logo of the new trophy, of the new Arena Crown trophy. And it's funny, just like the name itself and the logo itself, it's had its detract pluses and it's had its minuses. I think it's cool. It's something different. We've been so used to a cup for basically the entire history of arena football. This is something completely different, and I'm fine with this. I would love to see what it says at the bottom of the trophy itself. It says something. and we can't tell right now. And I'm used to you guys that maybe it said the exact same thing that it said surrounding the old arena. I think we have one of the pictures which will show, but what it was, the words that was surrounding it. Well, it's sort of like the Raiders did, excellence, whatever they're saying. Yeah, something like that. So thoughts, guys? I mean, it is different. I will admit, I don't have a problem with this. I really don't have a problem with this trophy.
I like it. It's very Lombardi trophy shaped. You know, this kind of like a thinner design with the football at the top. I like it. I think it looks sharp. I think they've hit a solid double. If you want to go to a baseball reference, I think they've hit a solid double with this one.
It's definitely a step up from what they had last year, where I was telling Dad, I was like, when I was at the local trophy stop getting my trophy for my fantasy football league, I think I saw that Arena Bowl trophy sitting in there too. That's just like, it just looked like they picked it up that week. No offense, guys. I still want to, Steven Titus, I still want to drink a beer out of that trophy. But this, I mean, it looks like they put some thought into it a little bit, and it doesn't look cheap. I mean, it looks like a league championship trophy, and you can take it as like the way those two lines are. You can take it as, is it the ball being thrown? Is it the ball about to hit the net? Like, I would have liked to see maybe the nets incorporated somehow, or like the bar from the rebound nets. But beggars can't be choosers. I think it's a pretty solid trophy, especially compared to last year's.
It's sleek. I mean, I love the way it looks. My concern is there are some very excited big boys that are going to be handling that thing at the end of the game. And I hope it's sturdy.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think we were told it's about 3 feet high.
Yeah.
From base to bottom, as we were told.
Boy, it's going to look good in those Firebird uniforms. I'll tell you that.
But I like it too. It's so much iconography. I'm curious to see which company has designed it. I would love to hear talk to the League HQ and see what the thought was when it came to this design. I'm really curious. And again, I'm sure there is something to whatever the wording is below it. And that's one of the things that I'm really curious to see too, as I said, because there's cute, Brian. No, it was not blurred on purpose. It's because it's where we got the graphic from.
Yeah, no, the image was part of a video that it was like a blink and you miss it moment. So it was in motion as the video. So yeah, there's not a point where it was clear.
No. And it's fine. As I said, I like it. It really looks nice. And just for reference, we are able to, just for those who don't know old school arena football, we're able to come up with some historical photos on what the old trophies looked like. And I'm curious to know, guys. Randy, what's your thoughts? You just popped back here. Randy, what's your thought on the trophy?
I like the trophy. I really do. And I'm the kind of guy that I hate change, period, whatever it is. And but I do like this trophy. I think it's cool looking. It's kind of unique, and it's very nice. So when I saw that, I immediately thought I like that trophy. So yeah, it's a good one.
Now we're gonna show some of the, and I know a lot of you guys will have seen these, and because but I'm curious to know where you guys would rank it for all of them. Scott, if you have, go and start with the very first one. I guess the one of Markham, because we've never really had a good photo of it. But that's the infamous Hardy's Cup / and we called it something else. I'm trying to look at my thing here. But that was the original trophy for the Arena Football League. It literally said, I think, Hardy's Cup on it. It was basically in the shape of a cup. That's it. That's what it was. Next one.
What team is that? I'm trying to see. I don't know if that far.
A Denver Dynamite.
Oh, okay. I learned something new today. I did not know that.
That was literally the first Arena Bowl championship, from the first Arena Bowl championship.
All right.
And then this one, I don't know how they got away with using. They go from they using the cup to this one for 91. Obviously, an homage to the Nets. I just don't think it really works well as a trophy, in my opinion.
I don't think I've ever seen that one before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, That's a new one on me.
You and I need to talk more, Randy. Yeah,
They just use that for 1 year.
yeah, it's just 1 year.
Okay.
I think it's just
That-
1
that
year.
must be
I,
why
again,
I've
I
never
got
seen
to
it
look at
before.
my graphic here, but I think it was. I think it was
Looks
only,
like-
it was like 1 or 2 years. I think.
Looks like they
Okay.
took all the straws from the Hardee's cups and made that.
Did you say Hardy's Cup or Harvey's Cup?
Hardee's. Remember the first year the league was promoted by Hardee's,
Okay.
and remember when they had Hardee's on the nets, and it was literally called the Hardee's Cup. So
Well,
does that mean today would be called the Carl's Jr. Cup?
I just
they're
thought
both-
maybe it was a.
Hardee's is still around.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same company. It's the same company.
I just thought maybe it's a Canadian thing, and you call it the Harvey's Cup.
No. No, I wish. I wish. Then the next one. That's iconic right there. Everybody, even
Yes.
you guys, anybody should know this. Both Adams, Randy, myself, Scott, all know this trophy. And supposedly, from what we heard, this thing was a beast. A beast. This thing was heavy as hell. Heavy as hell. But this thing was just monster.
Yeah,
I never
think,
got to see this one in person. It was gone before I got involved, but I know
Yeah.
the next one was massive.
Yep.
It took two
Go ahead.
people to carry it around.
Yep.
So since I brought it
That
up,
one.
yes.
So there, see
I
what I'm saying,
recall that
guys?
one
There.
too.
See what it's saying there? Character, excellence, and what does the other one say?
Commitment, I
I think-
think.
Commitment,
Yeah.
character,
Yeah.
excellence.
And there's one at the top there next to character on the same ring. I can't read what that says.
I think it's commitment on the left.
Commitment. Yeah. So maybe that's
Yeah.
what it says at the bottom of the new one. That's what I'm guessing. But
Because
again,
it looks
we'll
like
see.
there's three things along the bottom there on that new one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't
But
surprise
this
me.
is the one. This is the one that we know from the full size version to the mini version that they ended up doing after San Jose took the trophy and went home in 2016.
Mhm.
And then they used a smaller version of it, a mini version. 2 years and 17, they used just a regular, well, I'll call it the Amazon Arena Bowl trophy, like they did last year. I'll just call it that too. And I think that was. Oh yeah, you're going to show the next one, which was last year's, right?
Well, so then there's 2019. We had two.
Oh yeah, sorry, 2019, which had
we had two trophies that year.
they had 2 trophies in 2019. That's correct.
Belt, which
Yeah,
God, I love the belt.
They switched out. They switched out the old AFL logo with this logo on the main trophy, and then they had the belt.
And they same trophy,
Yep.
smaller version
Yep, smaller version.
with the new logo on it.
Hmm.
And then to the wonderful
That one.
off the rack
That's what I
2024.
saw at the trophy place.
Mm-hmm. It's an off the rack trophy. It's
That's pretty massive.
you know what? We were lucky to get anything that season. So
That's
I'll
fair.
I'll take it.
So, gentlemen, in the annals of Arena Football
we are.
Championship trophies, where would you rank the Arena Crown Trophy?
I would say top 3.
Yeah,
What'd
me
you
too.
have over it?
Mhm.
The super heavy one with the square base, and the one that came after that, because those are the two I remember the most.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, this would be number 3. This brand new one's probably number 3. I would go the big one, like the Rampage one with the big gold bowl. It's probably number 2. But I love the sleeked down one the year after that, because I'll always remember, because the Rampage won that trophy, and I was always so bummed that we got it for the 1 year, got our pictures taken with it, and then it was supposed to go off to the next team or whatever. But then when they came up with that new trophy design, they eventually sent all the teams that had previously won titles a new version of the new trophy. And I remember us getting pictures with that. They displayed that at the Van Andel in Grand Rapids when they gave that to the team. And I don't know. I just always like the look of, oh yeah, that one will always be great. But I did like that one right there. I did think that one was nice and sleek and clean, and it just looked good up on the stage.
Yeah, I think that was the first year. I think that was 2002. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when NBC joined and they rebranded. So,
Yep.
Adam, the other Adam, what do you think? Where's this rank?
You talking? Oh, me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
yeah,
Adam.
yes, Adam.
No, I thought, it's definitely in the top couple. Like, this one I think is really nice. I think it's gonna, it stands out. It's different. It's not just a cup that you got in the trophy shop in the mall. I do like I like the AFL branded one as well that you had showed up there. That's probably right up there also. But this one is, I think it's really good. I think it's, it'd be great for a trophy presentation. It'll look good.
And for you in particular, Adam, is the other one. The one prior to that was the one that you and Albany and the Capital Region know the most. Really, is
Right.
that one?
That
Because
one, yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So
that's the 1999 Arena Bowl version that
Yep.
we're all familiar with. Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, I can't count the belt as a trophy because, man, I love the belt. Like I just think it's great.
I never thought we'd have a tchotchke as a symbol of a champion.
I think that should be the MVP award or something like that. Should be the MVP
Okay.
award.
I'd buy that. Yeah.
But
Give Sam Casanova the belt.
taking that one out of the mix. Yeah, this was my first. This is what I got exposed to originally, watching the two guys in white gloves lifted out of the box, and they treated this thing like
the Stanley Cup and the Grey Cup.
Like the Stanley Cup. Yeah, it was an important thing. So my heart will always go with this. After this, though, this is second. The new one's a second for me. I really, really like this. It's sleek, it's modern, it's just, it's a different game. Let's have the trophy match what we do in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably would still put it in top 3 myself. There have been some great trophies. There have been some ugly trophies. It's funny. I would probably still put one of the Hardy's Cups in the top 4 because I thought that was pretty cool. It's a lot of these trophies. Who knows where they are? I've heard stories about the original Hardy's Cup and where it may have ended up. That one from the net one. Who knows? And then that huge giant one. Does Commissioner Baker know something that we don't? Or former Commissioner Baker knows something that we don't? Where are some of these trophies? I mean, some of these things things somehow come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, so they're somewhere.
I think they're somewhere.
Yeah. Nobody threw it away. I can guarantee that.
I would hope not.
I would love to see this one though. Personally, I'd love to see this one. Like,
I'm trying to think.
Wild.
Who would have that now? With Woody.
It looks
Kern
like something
gone,
you would have on your desk.
Yeah, I know. With Woody Kern gone, with Coach Markham gone.
Maybe it's the Tampa Bay Lightning that have it.
I think a lot of the former owners are gone.
It may be sitting in the Tampa Bay Lightning storage right now.
You never know.
I mean, they were the last owners of that franchise. There's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But
if anybody out there knows where any of these trophies are, contact Tim Capper.
Right.
Give me your email address, your home phone, whatever. Contact him.
It's history. It's just history. It's just history. That's the thing. The league did announce the finalists for the awards this year, and they're going to have the league did announce they're going to have an awards ceremony on the Friday prior to the game. Any of the particular awards, guys, that you have questions about? Not necessarily, because they're all. I like that they chose 3 people instead of just 2. Kind of reminds me similar to what the CFL does in a couple of these things. Any type of questions you guys have about them? Only one that I have is Sam Casanova is rightly nominated for the MVP, but he's not nominated for Offensive Player of the Year. So he's a one and done. That type, you know what I mean? It's like if they announce all arena teams. I don't know what they're going to call them. If they announce all arena teams, it's like, you're having your best two quarterbacks. One gets one, and then the other one doesn't get named at all, which we've seen before happen. But to me, I'm just wondering about this. Sam Castronova. I don't think he's not going to win. I think he's going to win the MVP. But I'm saying if he doesn't, he's not nominated for anything else. Any of the other awards kind of surprise you guys, or any other replacements you would have made with who they chose?
It does just seem like it was kind of set up to where like everybody's going to get a trophy. Like you look at the 3 MVP nods, like you said, Castanova's only up for MVP, but then Dwayne Brown and Morton are next category for Offensive Player of the Year, and then Morton's also up for Rookie of the Year. It just seems like they're gonna. I'm not saying they're trying to spread it around, but that's just. I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, man, I kind of wish it would have been a little more. I don't know, not so obvious, like that Sam's going to get the MVP. Like you did, he'd be up for Offensive Player of the Year too if he's the most valuable player. But this is me.
Yeah, especially since being nominated for MVP didn't eliminate others from Offensive Player of the Year. But or I don't know, do you put in a fail safe of, hey, if you win MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, you get MVP but not Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
You just activate a fail safe in that situation, because I see you don't want it to be one guy running down the board. There's no fun in that.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this on our podcast, and we think everybody that's been nominated is a deserving person for whatever award they've been nominated for. But yeah, they didn't have a kicker of the year, and half the teams didn't have a very good kicker this year, so maybe that wasn't in the mix. But I think the awards are pretty good. I was looking up a few stats before we got together today, and I was looking at Sam Castronova's stats, and somebody correct me, this can't be right. He threw for 1,887 yards, but only 5 touchdowns. That can't be right.
Where are you reading this at?
In that, no, he's at 40. Sam,
Okay,
Sam has,
because the same place I got this information, I got Tyler Kulka's. He threw for 1,722 yards and 31 touchdowns.
Where are you looking, bud?
that sounds about right. Somebody screwed up Sam.
He's been on the internet before.
I was on the AF1 site, and I was looking at on the teams. I looked at the 2 teams and went to see the stats for the quarterbacks, and those were the stats I came up with.
No, so for Sam, he's thrown for, I think the yardage I think is right, like 1885 or something like that. Right. He's at 3rd overall. I think Morton was more and Kulka was more. But he threw 48 touchdowns and only had 3 interceptions.
Okay.
So in terms of efficiency, in terms of touchdown to interception ratio, Sam is your guy.
Yeah.
But I think it's a 1735 here for Castronova.
Did they count the playoff game? Because for the playoff game, he had 303.
No. Usually these are. I think they have that's just in the regular season. But only Morton and Dalton Cole in Oregon threw for over 2,000 yards.
Okay, but he also, Castronova played 1 series against Corpus, and he played half the game against the Wolfpack.
That's true.
And he played only half a game against somebody else too. So like Robert McCoy is the backup, who probably could start for at least half of the teams in this league. So some of those, he's getting those stats in, a little less time than some of the others.
And he also did play less games this year too, technically. Sam was 5th in the league in passing yards per game. So
you got to give Jalen some credit too, though. Nearly 500 yards rushing and 17 rushing touchdowns.
I know.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That puts him up there, man, when it comes to league, arena football history for rushing, period. Mm-hmm. In a year, that's damn good.
Yeah, that's impressive. What the Storm they had 12 games this year.
Yeah.
So versus the 10 though that Albany had. That's the other thing is that all those numbers that Castronova put up, despite only playing half the game in some of these times, was still only over 10 games.
And that by the way, that's the other thing we didn't talk about at the beginning of the show either, is that despite the weirdness of the schedule, it still was it was good football. They still went through, and hopefully they it just that one little thing at the beginning of the year kind of messed things up, and it's not to take away anything from anybody. By the way, as a couple people have posted here, the merch for Arena Crown on a Royal Retros is quite nice. They're actually embroidering the logo on the two teams that are playing. If you buy a replica shirt, replica jersey,
An embroidered logo, that's nice.
Embroidered, yeah. Well, Royal Retros is top notch when it comes to that.
That's very nice.
Yeah, we talked to Dustin Alameda, the guy that runs that on our podcast, The Nest, and yeah, he was a good dude, and again, as somebody that kind of gets it, yeah, you can find any NFL jerseys you want, whatever, but this is something that's a little more niche, and he's filling that niche, which is a good thing for the league and for fans of the league.
Yeah, no, I agree. Adam, I met Dustin last year at Grey Cup for the first time. I've known Dustin for a few years. I just last year was the first time I met him. So yeah, he's a good dude, and he puts out some good merch. He puts out
Royal Retros, great stuff. I mean, if you can get a Grand Rapids, like I literally got it sitting over here. If they can make a Grand Rapids Rampage jersey, I mean, they're doing something right in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic too. The stitching, everything on this is
yeah,
top notch.
Yeah, I've got a replica from them too. I got a CFL replica from him also, and it's like, yeah, this is good stuff.
Like Randy was saying, the individual player page, yeah, Castronova stats are pretty far off. They're showing 5 touchdowns, 1887 yards.
Oh, the team pages, yeah,
And
on the individual player page.
yeah.
I figured the yardage was right, but I couldn't believe only 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Actually, it's funny.
against
Somebody
the
who's
lineup.
not mentioned anywhere, and when Dwayne Brown is listed for Offensive Player of the Year, DP, he led the league in receiving yards, but yet he's not mentioned anywhere. And maybe, basically him and DP and 1-2-1-2 all year.
Yeah.
So
led the league in yards, less yards per game, because again, playing more games.
fair.
I wonder part of that would do. I mean, we kind of made a joke about this earlier. It's like the only person that could stop Sam Casanova from getting the MVP is in his own locker room. But
It's true.
But at the same time, I mean, he's got 30 touchdown catches. 30 of the 48 were to Dwayne Brown. I mean, it's just you got to have a special connection for that. But again, as we've talked about on our show and we talked about today, we actually promoted the championship today on one of the local stations here in the Capital Region, 104.5 The Team here locally, and we were talking about like you can't, sure, Dwayne Brown has 30 touchdowns. You can't focus on him. They've got 4 other guys that can do it. And then the semifinal against Salina, Castronova threw 2 touchdowns to each guy in succession. So it was like 2 to Brown, 2 to Isaiah Scott, 2 to Darian Townsend, and 2 to Markel Wade, like in succession. It's like, go ahead, try to stop Dwayne Brown. The others will get you.
I mean, Dwayne Brown averaged 3 touchdowns a game. That's cooking. That's absolutely cooking.
And then he had 2 rushing as well, so he had 10 total against Salina. He was responsible for all the scores. He's playing at the top of his game.
One thing I didn't realize is Hill for Washington led the league in sacks. 13 sacks out of Hill at Washington.
Wasn't it one point though that they had 11? Was it 11 in 2 games or something crazy like that at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, they went nuts there at the beginning of the year. Yeah, 13 sacks for the season, led the league. That's impressive.
So again, it's back to the thing. For the awards, guys? Any people you would have slotted in, taken out? Don't understand the reasoning. Again, I'm curious to know the all-star teams and how they're going to look like. First and second all-star teams, if that's going to be the case. Thoughts on the head coaches? How could Damon Ware not get the head coach of the year based off the other two that have been listed?
I think argue like every award and even the coaches especially, you can make an argument for each of those guys. Damon Ware, undefeated season. I mean, hard to argue that. I mean,
Yeah.
but then I think about Arpet, and it's like the way they started their season with the camp team. They kind of just got thrown to the wolves to start the year. Like, that's also impressive how you turn that around. And I think the third spot between the Storms coach and Coach O for Salina, it's a toss-up between them. I probably would have gone with Coach O in that third spot. Just the way Salina turned their season around. You start 0-4, and you find a way to make it to the playoffs. I think he should have at least gotten a nod for that, and that is no slight to the coach from
Gary
Southwest
Thomas.
Kansas. Yeah, no slight to him at all. It's just that was like the toss-up one. That's the one that stuck out when I saw that. Because I really did feel like Coach O learned from that stuff early on, and they flipped the switch, and they looked like a totally different ball club the second part of the year.
And that's tough. I think it is a coin toss. I mean, yes, Salina came out on top in those last two games, but Salina only led those games for 3 seconds total.
That's crazy.
I mean, 2 wins, you only led for 3 seconds.
Southwest coaching too, like they should have closed those games out, and they couldn't.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the Storm outplayed the Liberty in both those games, but they also
blew
outcoached.
2 16-point leads.
Mm-hmm. So it's
I think it's Damon's to lose.
Well, yeah, I bet now had what would have been funny is had Salina beat Albany last week, and Coach O's not up for the award. Then what? Because I think at that point he would have earned it.
And it would have been chaos, and I love chaos in my arena football.
Right?
There's actually Adam, we talked to Damon last week on our podcast because we were talking about the start of the playoffs and all this stuff, and he had such a great line to describe arena football. He called it football in a blender, and I was like, that is yeah, I see the nods. Yeah, like that is such a great description for this game.
It really is. I mean, we talk about all the time, like, oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, that goes back to Lee. If anybody remembers Lee Corso, he said football on a postage stamp.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
He has his last
70% of the players on 30% of the field. I think that's about what it works out to. What were you saying, Adam? Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
Speaking of Lee Corso, he's got his last headgear coming up the first week of the season at Ohio State. So
I know
people enjoy Corso, cursing on live TV.
I really can't argue any of these award nominees. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody more deserving over than the three they listed.
It may be, it's funny, based off, again, what the league does, if they do the all arena teams, those actually may be the most interesting lists versus the awards to see who made the all arena team and who didn't. Because that would be a lot to talk about. Because obviously everybody is they're worthy to make the finalists for the awards. But then how does the media and the league rate the players who may make the all-star teams? That actually may create more chatter than I think than the awards themselves. But
I mean, Sean Lewis with 10 interceptions not being on the defensive list is actually kind of surprising. That might be the one. But then who do you take out? All three of those guys are very, very worthy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Zeke is, has 12 sacks. I mean, and again, only 10 games. So Like who do you take out? Like you've got three great choices. Who do you take out? You really can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, for a while this year, Adam was touting Henry Nell to be league MVP with the way he was kicking. And he was serious at the time too. I don't know if he still feels that way.
I was very serious. The way, especially after that the 100-point performance, and I get they were playing a ragtag Corpus Christi team, but that's skill. It doesn't matter who you're lining up against him. He's making those kicks. Like
I just think it made other kickers better. It's not that I mean Nell had a hell of a season, but then again, you look at how some of the other kickers improved themselves over the year. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Dean Faithful stuff that he did on social media. And as we know, usually most kickers, depending on where the scoreboard is, they'll line up straight there, literally center of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Dean was able to figure it out enough that he actually kicked from the far side because he was able to take advantage of. So he didn't have to worry about where he was kicking and try to get. And he became one of the league best next to Nell when it came to deuces. Mm-hmm. So I can't, with Nell, I always say, well, what if he didn't do? I've already gotten flack from this one because I chimed in on the on Block U, and I chimed in saying, well, what happened if Nell didn't get 26 points versus Corpus Christi?
I mean, again, watching him all year, there were games this year that he changed the outlook of it by either, again, Wolfpack, again, I know the score was 98-12, but, he's kicking, and him in the special teams as a unit is making some of those plays. There were games this year where he changed the flow of the game because he's kicking deuces.
Right.
There was one, and I'm going to blank completely on it, but there was one where I think he kicked a deuce with like 4 seconds left in the half to put them up like 10 or 12. And it just changed the calculus of the game going into the second half. Like he did that a handful of times this year, where he would be able to hit a deuce at some important point in the game where they needed a spark. I think he did it against Salina in that overtime game. I think he did one where he kept them ahead by more than a possession. Like they needed an extra possession basically for Salina. So it's like, yeah, I think even without some of the, obviously the crazy, you see 26 points and all this craziness when they played Corpus Christi, he was doing that kind of stuff all year. So, I mean, they don't even have a kicker the year they should. And I think Henry would get it. But I'll tell you, this is another thing, because we saw him twice. The Hale kid from Salina was an excellent kicker.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, we saw him, and I think he had 2 or 3 deuces in the game on Saturday, and we were, I was, Chris and I looked at each other like, oh, okay, like this kid's pretty good too. So I think maybe that's another case of, like you said, maybe seeing, kicker, somebody like Henry and those guys like improve the rest of the league in terms of how they use the kicker to their benefit because you can score on a kickoff.
So the kid in Nashville is also excellent. Like you were talking about, Tim, the biggest knock against his kickoffs is he did line up in the middle, right underneath not a low score, but a lower scoreboard in Clarksville.
Right.
And he had a couple that they were guaranteed deuces if it didn't clip the bottom of the scoreboard. Where had he moved over, to the numbers, kicked from the numbers, he would have had a clean shot, would have cleared the scoreboard, no problem.
I'm trying to think.
Dallas.
Yeah, help me here, guys. Randy in particular, obviously, but I'm trying to think of some of the other old school arena football kickers, AFL kickers that used to do that. Obviously, we all know about the Clay Rush rule. Randy, I'm sure you remember that one, where they had to change the rules because Clay was consistently kicking the ball over the net. So they basically made it so you had
such a big kick.
Yeah, so you basically had to kick the ball off the net. I'm trying to think of were there any other kickers that did similar to what Nell does and to what Dean Faithful did in kicking to the side like that? I'm trying to remember. There are so many good kickers in that were.
In Kansas City, we didn't have a choice because our scoreboard is so big and hung down so low. They kicked almost off the wall on the kickoffs. And even
Okay.
then, it barely scraped by the side. I mean, it went halfway up the scoreboard and it barely scraped by. So that was just the arena itself that mandated it.
But when I was covering the Grand Rapids Rampage for Arena Fan, Brian Gowans was our kicker, and as I thought he was awesome. He was always, if he wasn't hitting it off the bar, it was coming off the nets really hot, and it was hard for the other team to get these control of these balls when they're coming off the net. So he's one that I'm probably more familiar with than anything else, and I just thought he was really, really good.
It takes so much to be a good kicker in arena, because the goalposts are like half the distance between like they are in the NFL. So you get a kid like Henry, and it's like he's just down the middle, like that. It's a whole different set of skills to be able to do that.
Well, and it doesn't sound like much. It's also 5 feet higher.
Right.
So when you are kicking that 58-yard deuce, that's a 70-yard field goal off a tee, because you have to kick it so much higher at that point. That's no joke. That's what I say with Clay Rush, man. When he kicked him over the nets, I don't even know how far that kick would have gone in open air, because that's 58 yards at the peak of his kick.
Yeah,
like that thing would have sailed forever.
I think Mark Lewis he was one of those ones that he was very well known. Yeah, for kick from the side. Here's Clay Rush here. Has so many. God, I'd forgotten about all these great kickers that have been.
Tommy Freevert was more of an onside specialist, but he was pretty accurate when he was out there.
Yeah, I mean Darren Alcorn and AJ Hoagland, and there's Brian Gowans, Keith Gispert,
Mike Vanderjagt. You want to pull out some old names? Mike
Vanderjagt, Mike Black. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's Luis and Dejas. Man, I'm really going down the rabbit. But yeah, but they got better. That I think it's all that matters, is that they got better. The quarterbacks got better.
And talking about the kicking getting better, Tim, we were talking with Dalton Cole, and they were talking when they saw Dean Faithful kicking, and he talked about him kicking off to the side. They were like, "Wait, you can do that? Like you can." They were like looking around, like we can move the ball and like not hit the scoreboard. Like, so like, I don't know if the league didn't make that clear to all the teams, or if there was just a kicker not knowing that they could do that from the beginning. But I just thought that was interesting. They saw Dean, and they're just like, oh, well, why don't we do what he's doing? And then, because I remember early in the year watching those games in Oregon, and they were hitting the scoreboard quite a bit. And I asked Dalton if they moved the scoreboard up, because when we watched that last Billings game at the end of the year, I don't think he said he threw a pass into it, but I never saw a kick hit the scoreboard. He's like, well, that didn't move. We moved to the side so we would avoid the scoreboard. I just thought that was interesting. So guys were learning, and guys were watching other guys from these other teams they'd play and go, let's do that. That seems to work.
Actually, that's funny. That was Dean's worst game of the year. That was Dean's worst game of the year. I think he missed 5 extra points. So, yeah.
Well, many years ago, I took the kids to the Detroit Lions training camp, and this was when they were at Saginaw Valley State, north of Detroit, and they actually had a goalpost that was 9 feet wide. And I thought, my God, they're training their guys to be arena kickers. If you can kick it through that, you can kick it through an NFL goalpost. And I thought that was very interesting way back then. I don't think they do that anymore, but there was a time when they had those.
Some teams might.
I think a few teams did it recently. I thought Tampa Bay did it.
I think the Cowboys had them up semi-recently.
Yeah. So it's more accuracy. I'm sure they got to, they got to basically check for the wind and how it's coming, but still. No, I thought that was cool. Yeah. So, I mean, the games this week, we have to give props to the crowd in Clarksville. Almost a sellout. We don't know the official numbers yet, but it was about 50. I think it was about 5,300-ish, I think. That bodes well depending on what Nashville's going to do next year.
Great energy. And I tell you, firsthand being there this weekend and last. I went to the last 2 games there. Great energy, for a fan base that doesn't necessarily know the game. They, whether it was the on-field production that got the crowd going, or if they're just rabid football fans in that town, they were into it. They were hardcore into it. The crowd's chanting "Deuce, Deuce, Deuce" on every kickoff. And it's funny in a game that's scoring so much, how much the deuce has become a highlight in this game. It's definitely something to look forward to.
I definitely want to go see a game down there in Clarksville next year. I was almost going to go to the one this past weekend, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, the excitement and the atmosphere in that little arena, it may not be as big as some other ones, but if it's a sellout, you're going to have one excited crowd cheering their butts off, and it just looks like an atmosphere that I want to be a part of. So I can't wait to go to a game there next year.
Yeah, it was absolutely excellent. The best atmosphere I've seen. Actually, in fact, my son, he's 5. We realized halfway through he was kind of struggling. It's just being kind of a butt and real whiny, and we realized this is the largest, loudest crowd he's ever been in. And we realized, oh wow, we got him some headphones from guest services. He was good the rest of the game, but it was just the largest, loudest crowd he's ever been in since, I guess he was 6 months old when we took him to the first Battlehawks game. But he, it was that loud. It was that loud that my son just couldn't handle it at full speed.
Well, that's one thing I brought up, and I'm curious to know what you think, Nest Adam, is what are you concerned? Because basically the last 2 games, Clarksville has outdrawn Albany. And I understand that Albany is a slightly different configuration. I mean, I've been there many a time, and the whole place holds 12K. I can't remember what the Literal Bowl holds just by itself. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I would have thought it's a perfect time of the year. It's what has been a standard in Albany when it comes to kickoffs, and the day of the kickoff, Saturday at 7. Do you, as a fan and as a guy covering the team, are you concerned in any way based off of what they drew? Because again, I never thought I'd see the day that Albany was outdrawn, but they're doing it in Clarksville. Plus for the league, obviously, plus for the league. But when you see the crowds that have shown up this year, does the crowd size concern you?
It doesn't concern me. I mean, they've been anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 most of the year. I mean, obviously, in the past, as you guys know, they've, been 8,000, 10,000, back in the day. I don't know if it's a concern. I mean, I think I think they'd want to have more, casual people like, hey, I've never checked this out before, but let me buy a ticket and come out. I will say that even 3,000 or 4,000 can sound like 8 in that arena. They get pretty loud. It's a pretty, raucous crowd. It's, they know their football. They cheer on these guys. I mean, we've, talked to, we have a group here called Flock Support. It's kind of like a booster club for, and they do like adopt a players. So like, they're, a lot of times for some of these people, it's like, they're not just football players. They're, it's kind of like the, college baseball thing when they, stay with people, you know what I'm talking about? Like like the fans really do get behind them. I would say that, the team would want more people to come, but the people that do come are very, rabid football fans and fans of the Albany Firebirds. So to give a shorter answer, no, I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned if you consistently have 4,000 or more fans. I think you're doing okay in this, in this environment, and where we are. Capital Region isn't a super rich area. It's. I think it's a pretty good thing of what they got, but I'm sure you always want more people. Obviously, you want more eyes on the product.
What do you think about the early game time? You think it's going to help, hurt?
I think that's awful. I think 1 o'clock kickoff is bad. However, it's beyond Albany's control. What we were told was they have a graduation at noon on Sunday that is hosted at the arena. I don't know who. I mean, I know the high schools are doing it. The high schools are graduating this weekend for New York. I don't know which one, but that's why it's at 1 and not 7. But yes, I think that I think it could have a bad effect. It may have less people. But I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. I have no idea.
It's just gonna make the post game party that much longer. So, so I'm good.
we'll be covering that. We'll be doing the post game. Our goal, hopefully, we're planning on trying to be on the field for post game, especially if Albany wins. We'll do it either way, but especially if Albany wins, we'll be on the field. So,
I know you're short on time, so I want to give you a chance to kind of tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Yeah, so it's Adam. My name is obviously Adam Samarov. My co-host Chris Sipperly has also been on this podcast, and thank you guys for helping us out and kind of promoting our stuff. We really appreciate it. What we've done is we have a weekly show where we interviewed players and coaches and super fans, and we get a chance to find out who these guys are. More than just Albany Firebird football players, and we actually have some more coming up in the off season. We have a few ideas kind of rattling around of how we want to, kind of keep an eye on these guys. I know they're, part of it, and they're part of it even after the season's over. They're still a member of the Firebirds. So yeah, just keep an eye out. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. The Nest, Albany Firebirds News is what we're called. And then
Evergreen,
we
Evergreen.
stream our pregame and postgame shows on Evergreen now, which has been an awesome partnership. We've been working with them, since early in the season to get our stuff on there, and they have, which is awesome. We get more eyeballs on it that way. And yeah, it's something that we really enjoy, and we both have been fans of it. Chris and I have been fans of it since the 90s. He's talked about the 1999 Arena Bowl game is one of the seminal football moments for him. I remember going, right around that time, 98 or 99, I went with our football team, and when I was in high school playing football, and we went, and it was the first time I had watched it, and I was like, this is amazing. So we've both been fans for a long time, and this gave us an outlet and an opportunity to, show people what this is up here, and who these guys are, and why it's so important. Why it's important to root these guys on. I'll use Nashville as an example. Nashville has the Tennessee Titans. They have the Nashville Predators. They have the professional sports. The 4 professional sports, the main ones. We don't have that here. We used to have the River Rats. We don't anymore. We used to have even the minor league stuff. We used to have the Albany County Yankees back in the day. We don't have that anymore. So this is the one real professional sport we have here. And it's nice to be able to be involved and show what these guys are, that these guys are, they're amazing talents. They're great football players, but they're also great people. And we've got a chance to show that.
It's awesome. Well, I appreciate your work. Appreciate you partnering up with us this year. Like I said, we love having your content on the page, and Chris was the one that kind of started us saying, putting out the public service announcement of, hey, if you're interested in doing some of this stuff, contact folks. Contact any one of us on this stream right now would be happy to help you get set up, get you connected with folks. This is how we build the game. Is all of us doing this in the community, and have a community like this to where we can just, hey, I know you got the show, come on, join us, and just throwing people together, just chatting about this game we love. It's been awesome. And like I said, I appreciate everything you guys have done at the Nest this year, and I look forward to seeing you guys here this week for sure.
Yeah, it's been awesome too, because we've been able to work with the league a little bit, and so now for this week, for the championship being here, we were able to, they have a media day. We're going to go to the media day. We're hopefully still working out a little bit, but hopefully the awards as well, and to kind of cover the awards similar, like I said, the NFL Honors does, and obviously we'll be there pregame show, postgame show, for the thing. So we've been able to really make something of it from when we started back in October to now. So, and we're hoping to keep that going. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us as well.
So, all right. Thank you again, Adam. Like I said, I know you got to run. So, but no, I appreciate you taking your time and chatting with us today.
All right. We'll see you guys this weekend.
All right. See you then.
Bye.
So he brought up something that I kind of want to pose to all three of you actually. What was the arena football moment for you that just sold you on this game, that you knew that we'd be doing this here right now because of what was your moment?
Yeah, do you want to take this? You always got the story.
In 2000, I went to my very first Grand Rapids Rampage game. It was against the Tampa Bay Storm, and I didn't know what to expect. I mean, this was the pre-internet days, and so maybe you'd get a score in the paper, but living down in Kalamazoo, which is like an hour south of Grand Rapids, you didn't always get the news from the games, so I didn't know a whole lot about it. The team had been around since '98, so 2 years later in 2000, I took Adam and some of his friends, and we went to a game. And Grand Rapids lost, what was it, 75-55. It was a 20-point loss. And I just thought that this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And later on that season, I took my brother with me, who's 10 years older than me. And we're sitting there, just the two of us watching this game. And he had no idea what to expect. He wasn't a big football fan, but he agreed to go with me. And at halftime, I turned to my brother and I said, "What do you think about possibly getting season tickets next year, for you and me?" And he says, "Heck yeah, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen." So it started right from the very first season that we started watching in 2000. And when Grand Rapids won the Arena Bowl in 2001, we were there. My brother was there. My niece was there. A lot of family members were there. And up until a year or so ago, that was the greatest moment in my football life, being there with my team, Grand Rapids, winning the Arena Bowl championship in Grand Rapids. The only thing that surpassed it was when we went to the Lions playoff game against the Rams a couple of years ago, and they won their first playoff game since, 91, 92.
Yeah.
And so that's my new, all-time favorite moment. But for all these years, it's been the Grand Rapids Arena Bowl. And so it started with me right away. The minute I saw it, I loved it, and I started covering the team for Arena Fan, and I covered some indoor leagues for other websites, and I just have loved the arena game ever since.
Ditto, all of that by osmosis. I was a little shadow and toe. I was at all those moments with him for the most part. I was always disappointed because he only had the 2 season tickets. So I had to wait several weeks to go see a Rampage game when we had season tickets. So I believe the game I got to go to was the 5-0 Rampage against the 5-0 Tampa Bay Storm in 2001 on TNN, and I believe Eli Gold was probably announcing that game. And I was so hyped, and I was like, "We're going to be 6-0, and we're going to the Arena Bowl," and then we lost. And then for a few weeks, my hopes were dashed. But then the Rampage picked it back up. They clean through the playoffs and some great games there, and into a great Arena Bowl against the Nashville Cats, who we're still talking about today. Those darn pesky Cats are now back in the championship game.
I say, yeah, I would have said it was Jill Arrington, not Eli Gold.
I mean,
that didn't hurt. That's for sure.
I've told the story many a time. For me, it was like for Randy. I followed it in the AFL and USA Today to see the scores, maybe the games here or there on tape delay on ESPN. But I went to go see my first ever game in Albany in 1993 between the Firebirds and the Miami Hooters. And
I got their helmet somewhere.
Yeah, and for me it was, and again, I'm sure people have heard the story. For me, it's just walking through. Anybody who's been to MVP Arena knows what I'm talking about. You have the curtains there between the concourse and the main bowl. You're just walking through walking through those curtains for the very first time, and just seeing how it was set up, seeing the nets hanging from the wall, from the ceilings and stuff like that, and it really hasn't changed in Albany. It really hasn't. The setup has been the same way since the team was here. Since '92. So That's what was it for me, and it just went from there. I mean, it's to me, if it's no, again, I will say no nets, it's not arena football. Not arena football.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's interesting that the community is really what hooked me into this. We had a good thing in Kansas City. We had a great fan club, which I got wrangled into running when they announced the team. And from that, I got to meet a bunch of folks. First time because I'd moved out to Kansas City not too long before that, and it's the first time I felt like I belonged here. Was when I was with those folks, and we were giant tailgate parties. We fed like 200 people a game. Just whoever walked up here, have a burger, throw some money in the donation bin, and just a big party. And we had a great time. And then it went from that to, hey, we want all these people running fan clubs. We want you to show up at the first Arena Bowl, or why don't you come on? Everybody come to the Arena Bowl. So that was 2006 is my first Arena Bowl. And the guys at Club Crush reached out and, hey, we're going to do this big giant tailgate party. We're going to do custom shirts for every fan club. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And just got welcomed by this just mass of people. And that was great. And then my family, 2007, my family started going to the games, and they fell in love with the players and the cheerleaders. And just all of a sudden it was a great environment. Flash forward to now, my older kids have grown up with the game. They still enjoy it, but they've all moved on. They're older. I've got a 5-year-old now, and watching him interact with these players this time, because, I'm more involved than I was when my older kids were younger, and to see his interactions with these guys and being pulled onto the field pregame and playing catch with some of the equipment guys in Nashville last week, having D. Washington come up to him, give him a big hug right before the start of the game, seeing his face light up when his favorite players come out. He was wearing a Tampa Bay Storm jersey to this weekend's game. He said it's my I don't care who wins jersey, because it's the Cats colors, but it says Storm on it. So he has players he loves on both teams, and he didn't care who won. Seeing that out of my 5-year-old it's totally brought a whole new perspective, new life to this game for me recently. And I'm so thankful that he's going to have the opportunity to grow up with this game, where 2009 my wife was 7 months pregnant at the Arena Bowl, and it all ended after that. I thought he's never going to see an actual arena football game. He's going to the Topeka Tropics for the rest of his life. And yeah, I'm just so thankful he's got this opportunity, and it, like I said, it's just changed how I've viewed this game this year for sure. So
Yeah, I think it takes being humbled too. I mean, I think all of us are humbled last year and what occurred, and we were all tricked, we were all duped, and what happened and stuff like that. And it, to Scott, a slight caveat to what I was saying, but just to what Scott was saying, is that it, with honestly, Randy and Adam, it was Scott who brought me back this year, because I was done. I mean, so it's funny. Somebody's speaking basically who was doing podcasting for Arena Fan for 20 years, and the 5 years in between, it is what it is, COVID, et cetera, et cetera. But it was, if it wasn't for Scott asking me to come back and join the show this year in a different role than the way that I was when I did AFL Tonight, you wouldn't see me here. So I'm going to echo kind of what Scott says too. I'm going to add a little extra chapter onto mine, because I'm appreciative of Scott for asking me. And it's funny, and I'm sure many people know, Scott and I were never, we were not always like this. We were rivals of two different sites. But that changed.
And that whole temperature has changed across
for sure,
the whole landscape with this, the reboot. And it's been great. We've been able to bounce things off each other, and hey, this is what I've heard. This is what I've heard. And lots of behind the scenes talk, and there's not that competitiveness anymore. No. Man, I got to break this before anyone else gets it. I got to show up this side. I got to show up that side. It's been a blast. Even last year with all the chaos, it was still fun. and now having a little more of a level set. Now we get to focus on the game,
Yep.
which
think
there's
that's
too much going on last year to do.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about this year. Is we were able to focus on the games first, a few news bitey things, but it's been mainly the game. And then there's been so many cool guys in the arena sphere we've got to meet along the way this year. Guys who are still up and coming, guys who want to get into the game. Like it's there's some different form of coverage of this great sport for everybody. Like you look at our buddy Trey over at Off the Wall doing great stuff with like his turf tapes, which we had a blast doing.
I did too.
I mean, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and he does a great job. You guys clearly, I try to, if I can't catch you live, I'm always listening to you the next morning on my drive into work. So there's always different perspectives on the game, different people's opinions, because it'd be boring if we all had the same opinion about everything in the game. This makes it more interesting and more fun to have all these different personalities and cool people to meet. And I don't know, I'm just blessed that we get to do something like this and meet cool people like you guys.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the league and everything that it involves, whether it be the players, the executives, the business side of it, the small, minute things that some fans may not really care about. If it's news to us that we want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Try to get the information, and we will talk about it. It's encompassing the entire universe of the arena sphere. That's the thing. And it's funny, I'm jacked for 26. I can't believe I'm saying that. I am jacked for 26. I'm jacked for the game this weekend. I'll probably have to watch it on delay because I'll be traveling at the time that it's on.
So no texting spoilers, Randy. Goodness gracious. This guy.
But I'm jacked. I'm curious to see what's going to be said. If they go the expansion route, it's always a new twist to what's
season
gonna be
between the seasons.
Yeah, exactly. What's happening in Billings? I'm curious to know what Steve Titus is going to be doing. So
I will say that's a perfect example of why I like where things are right now. Is yes, the Outlaws may not be in Billings much longer, but the owner's not giving up on the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. In the past, be like, screw it, I'm out. And they'd walk away, throw their hands up, and they'd be done.
Right.
He still loves this game. He still wants to be part of this league. It may not be in Billings, but I think that says a lot about where this league is, that these guys still want to be involved, even when things aren't quite working out as well as expected.
Yeah.
So
we didn't have it before. So. And Tim, I appreciate the kind words. I'm so fortunate to have you here. I mean,
it's fun again. It's become fun again.
It's a lot less work when you're going to enjoy the conversation for sure.
Yeah.
And Tim, I can totally agree with what you're saying about working with somebody that you're not always like this. There are so many times that just before he hits record, he'll say something that really pushes one of my buttons.
A son pushing his father's buttons.
This is going to be a great show because he got me upset before we even turned on the recording. And some of those have been pretty good, but no, the difference of opinion, he's into one, some aspects, I'm into others. He loves to talk about uniforms and who's got the best jerseys. Why are they putting those pants with that? They should have the other pants that they wore last week with this uniform and the helmets. I've always loved helmets. I've got a wall of mini helmets in front of me here, and I've been collecting those for years because it's easier to get than actual size helmet. But I do have a couple. He and his brother got me a Rampage full-size helmet for Father's Day a couple years ago, and that is one of the most awesome things. It's even still got the player's name in it,
cool.
and the sticker inside.
The black or the pewter?
The pewter. I think it's from the final
even
season.
Better.
Oh, it's the silver one from the Sparky McEwen days, Randy.
Well, yeah, pewter I guess was the first couple of years, and then they went to a silver one at the end.
Yeah,
this was from 2008
before
season.
Tampa Bay said since the budget said you can't wear that.
My one dream helmet. My one dream helmet. The the Bossier Shreveport Battle Wings.
Battle Wings, yeah.
That helmet was one of the coolest helmets I've ever seen because it all depended on what angle you looked at it. Like those color changing cars, that's what that helmet did. It
Oh, the
either
one that was
black.
two-tone. Okay, I know what you're talking
It wasn't
about.
even two-tone. It was like black or silver or gray or white. It absolutely changed colors depending on the angle you looked at it.
Kind of similar to what the Jacksonville Jaguars did a couple of years ago.
Kind of, but that was actually legit two-tone. That was gold on the bottom, black
No.
on top.
They actually had the ones I think they use now are technically they're black, but
Okay.
they have some
Gold
gold
flecks.
or teal flecks
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
the
it
in
was-
the paint.
It was literally like those color changing cars that you see when you see them. I was like, it turns from orange or brown to red to whatever. That's what that did. Was different black, silver, gray. God, it was one of the coolest helmets I've ever seen.
Ladies and
That's
gentlemen,
my
welcome into Arena Uniform Talk. This is right up my alley.
Yeah. By the way, I just checked. Tickets to get into Arena Crown start at $33.75.
Not bad.
Thoughts?
Not bad.
I mean, that's fair to me for a championship game.
Highest price are like the first four, as normal, first four rows. I think they're like 117. Anything along the 25, I think in between the 20s is around. I have to go back and check. I think
I
it's
still
around
think you need a $20 ticket
70.
for
Yeah,
families.
but I think if they get enough people and the upper deck opens up, which I don't think is going to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, it's already kind of at a rough time. I don't know. I'd rather see them drop $5-10 off the price and get more bodies in there. But
I mean, yeah, but I'm just hoping that they can draw their 3,000 to 4,000 would be nice. I mean, it'd be nice if they could fill the lower bowl, but I mean, it's who knows?
I think they'll get their average. I don't think it's going to be less than that, but
maybe a large walk up. I just checked Ticketmaster. It would need to be a large walk up.
And I think if I remember correctly, looking at the weather, it's supposed to be raining that evening. So hopefully there is going to be a good walk up that morning.
But
So,
yeah, as you're saying, the 1 o'clock may be tough.
well,
It's gonna
if
be weird. I would love to know I would like be the guys there because they're doing graduations starting tomorrow through Sunday. So there's gonna be something each and every day. So they're gonna deconstruct, unless they're gonna. Wouldn't that be something? Now that would be a memory. If they'd already put the field down with the hanging nets and they have the high school graduation on the field, other than deconstructing and putting the stuff back up, but they've done it for lacrosse.
I think I've told this
I don't
story
see why
on-
they couldn't just leave the field down and let them walk on that, put the chairs on that.
That
a
would
little
be-
rough for heels, but
Well, wear your flats, ladies.
But, like I said, I think I've told the story before, but there was a Kansas City game in Dallas, and they, for whatever reason, had to reschedule it. But they rescheduled it to the same day as a Mavericks Lakers game. So they bumped the game up to like noon, kind of like this. They had to play the game, get the game done, drop the nets, roll up the field, take down the walls, then bring out the extended bleachers on the end and put in all their folding seats for the basketball configuration, all before they opened doors at like 6 o'clock.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Yeah. And talking to players like, oh yeah, I saw Kobe underneath the stands. like they were all kinds of excited, but I mean, talk about a conversion, because it's not like hockey where, oh, just roll up the field, the ice is right there, you're good to go. They have to totally pull out different bleachers and set up folding seats. Like, oh, man, that's a nightmare.
I think we have a couple of those time lapses over on the Arena Fan YouTube page from years past. I think one was from our good longtime photographer Andy Lipishnek has done them. I think there's one from he did a couple from San Jose when he was living out in California. And I think there's one floating around from when Pittsburgh had a team. I don't think he did that one, but it's out there. And it's just interesting. It's interesting. I tell you, I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised based off the time frame itself. Maybe they'll put down the turf on Friday Because if you think about it, when and where are the teams going to practice?
Yeah.
You know, or are they not? Because obviously they got to be in at least for Friday for media day.
Well, where does Albany practice anyway? I can't imagine they
Outdoors.
practice at the arena.
No, I think they've only very rarely do they practice the arena, from what I
So
understand.
they might just use that facility and do outdoor practices.
I would imagine it would be some indoor soccer or arena like Grand Rapids did.
Oh, it's possible. I think that's where camp was, and I just don't remember where it is in Albany.
So that would be my guess. Whatever their practice facility is, they dedicate times for both teams to get on there at some point.
Yeah.
But, then there's still media day and the awards night, and there's a lot of things get in the way too.
Yeah. Dusty Trail, by the way, stated that the prices that I saw, if it was from Ticketmaster, then there are add-ons. He said call the main office, the boss office, and it's probably cheaper if you go directly through the team for prices on tickets.
Yeah.
Which I've heard before.
Yeah, if you can get them directly from the arena, that's definitely cuts a couple fees off of it.
Yeah. And maybe it would drop it under to maybe $25.
And that definitely makes a big difference. Oh, there we go. For soccer
There we
practice
go.
stadium.
There we go.
So, but when? That's going to be the other side. Looking at the schedule, it's they've got them busy pretty much all day on Friday, and first thing in the morning they're going to be there ready to go. So, depending on when they get out there, they may not have.
Well,
much
I mean,
practice.
Albany's gonna be able to practice. They probably practice today.
Yeah, but Nashville still has to travel.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. I'm just hoping it's a good game. The last thing I want to see is a blowout, and I don't
I agree.
think it will be. But
Yeah, well, you look at the records. 11-0 versus 7-4. On paper, it looks like this is an easy win for Albany, but I'm looking for a really good close game, a typical arena game where it's whoever has the ball in their hands last that's going to win this game. That's the game I expect to see.
well, when they played Nashville, they had a bad third quarter. If they didn't have that bad third quarter, Nashville potentially wins that game. That's what I was saying earlier. It's not a matter of you just can't beat yourself when you play Albany.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Kolka needs to start off hot. I think he was he was mid to start the game this past week, even though he got better. I think it's just a matter of, I think he needs to be able to start off a little bit better, because I think we know Albany's going to be ready. I mean, it's very rare to see a game where Castronova has a bad game. So
they got to play a perfect game. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And
yeah.
It can be done though. There's no way, there's no world where I'll say it's impossible for Albany to lose this game.
Right.
I'd say it's maybe unlikely, but it's definitely not impossible by any means.
Yeah.
Henry Nell could have a bad game.
Yeah. Anything's possible. I mean,
A couple bounces off the irons.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I mean, Clint Dozell knows that as well as anybody. It bounces off the irons and it changes everything real fast.
Yeah, the rebound nets are the great equalizer. You can be on a hot streak as a team, scoring. And all of a sudden, you get a bad bounce off the rim, or a mishandled ball off the rebound nets, and game changes.
Yeah,
going in a whole different direction now.
And it was mentioned earlier, how much has a deuce changed it? Every touchdown is potentially 10 points.
Yeah, I think it's had a big impact on it. Where you can tie the game up, and then on the ensuing kickoff, take a 2-point lead.
That's what Salina did versus Albany.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about, we talked about the lack of field goals this year. You combine a field goal with a deuce, that's a 5-point play.
Again, yeah, exactly.
That's not nothing. I mean, that makes that field goal very worth it if you're hitting those deuces.
Or do what Albany did and go for the doubles. I know I used to have a term for it, but basically go the back-to-back scores at the end of the first half, and then get the ball back to start the second half, and that's what they did.
Oh, that makes
You know,
a big difference.
That's why I questioned. It was like, okay, they went for that. I was like, I thought, in my opinion, I thought Albany should have gone for the field goal. I understand they got the touchdown, but
Mhm.
still, that's always been a big part of arena football is if you can get that score at the end of the first half, get the ball to start the second half, it's basically a 14-point swing.
Yep.
No,
Oh, that's
larger,
huge.
larger than that. So,
Well, especially if you add the deuces in there too. You
Yeah.
know, it's like could potentially be a 20-point swing at that point.
is there an early line? 'Cause you guys know we think what the line's going to be, and we'll ask you guys. We won't necessarily ask you to make a prediction, but is there a line?
I haven't seen any that I know of, and
Yeah, we're usually not big line people.
no,
No, I know, but it
we're
gives
not
us an
big on betting.
idea of what they think. And Scott and I think have been pretty spot on over the past couple weeks on what the line.
I'm not sure
ends
the
up
only
being.
the only thing I've seen, I think Steven Titus and I were texting. He said 9.5 maybe is what he was thinking.
Ooh, really?
Not to throw Steven Titus under the bus, but that's what he was like. Is it a 9.5 point line? I was like, Steven, I don't bet. I don't know, bud. Like,
You know, if I was setting it, I'd actually probably do like 8.5, something like that. But
I was gonna say
I don't think that's what Better Edge is going to be.
No, I was gonna say 7.
Yeah.
So Adam, if you were to think of what the line would be,
I would probably go 8.5.
okay,
I'd
Albany.
probably
Right?
just go a little.
I was going to say 14, but again, you know, I'm not
okay.
I'm not
No,
a
no,
betting
that's not
man. I
wrong.
don't know how this all works. I've made some bets the last couple of years for the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I came awfully close a couple of years ago and got totally disappointed last year. So, you know, it's just a fun thing I do. I put some money down on the Super Bowl and, you know, who's going to win the division, little things like that.
Mhm.
But as far as, you know, a point spread and all that, I have no idea what it should be.
Yeah.
But that was just the first number I was going to throw out.
I see Better Edge though popping up at like 4.5. I see
Too
that.
low. No, I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
I agree, but I think that's what it'll be something like that because I was surprised at how close the Salina one was when they had that listed.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's anywhere between 5.5 and 9.5 points.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be surprised. But I'm sticking with 7. You know, they usually say, Randy, that if you're at home, it's usually you get automatically the home team will get a 3-point edge.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's I think it'd be for me. But we'll see. Again, just looking for a good game. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Fun.
A really good game for the
win
ages.
a good game at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who comes home and hoists that trophy, as long as it's like, I don't know, 56, 58 again, like kind of like that Salina game, I'll take it. Something where I'm on the edge of my seat till the very last second of that game. Give me that.
Yeah, where both teams can hold their heads up high for, you know, how they played in the game.
Another Salina Dodge City type matchup. That'd be perfect.
There are a lot of storylines. There are a ton of
Wow.
storylines, and I hope the league takes advantage of these because I mean the head coaches alone
Mhm.
are a huge storyline in the history that they have.
Yep.
So,
Agree.
gents, World of Football. Tell us about it. Where can they find it? Where can they possibly find it in the future? Because I know you guys are trying to get on Evergreen for your AF1 show. I don't know what happened there, but where can they find
We
you
don't know
guys?
what happened either.
We don't know either.
We'll talk
Go ahead,
off air.
Adam.
We'll talk off air. We'll talk about it.
But no, we are the World of Football Kalamazoo. You can find us on a plethora of social media platforms. Here on YouTube at the World of Football Kalamazoo. You can find us on X and Instagram and Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. We talk all things in the world of football. Obviously, we talk arena football. We talk indoor NFL, CFL. Today we talked about La Liga Profesional down in Mexico. European League of Football, X League in Japan. Dad, am I missing anything? Women's Football Alliance. We try to cover it
Arena
all.
League.
The Arena League.
Yeah, and we talked
UFL.
UFL when that was going on. Yeah, if it's out there in the world, we're talking about it. And sometimes it's just the scores because you know we don't get a whole lot of coverage of these things, but we like to let people know that it's out there, and if they're interested, they can find a website, they can find a stream somewhere. Yeah, last year we did our CFL show every week, and Adam put a lot of time taking a lot of highlights of all the games and a lot of big scoring plays, and it was a lot of work. And so this year we've kind of pared it down. Not so many highlights anymore, but we do talk about the games, and we encourage people to go and check out the 8-minute highlight packages that the CFL does a great job of putting together for every game. You get all the great plays. They're awesome. So, instead of doing it ourselves, we're just telling them, go to cfl.ca/videos and check out all the highlights, individual play highlights, game highlights.
The world of football is a buffet. There's so much you could choose from, and there's something different for everybody. And that's what we like to talk about. And that's what we like to tell people. Like, maybe you don't like UFL. Hey, maybe you'll like European football. I mean, it's all out there for you to find.
Yeah.
And I know you guys, you guys have been doing this for a while for the world of football. You guys got something very special coming up a week from today. We need to give you guys a chance to go ahead and promote it also.
On Canada Day.
On Canada Day, yep. We're going to honor so much football that day. It'll be our 400th podcast. Like, we do a weekly podcast, which is usually just an audio version. So we said, what do we do for 400? Well, let's try to do a live stream. So we're going to do our first ever self-produced live stream. We're going to have a slew of guests talking about different aspects of football. Tim has been gracious enough. He's going to stop by for a little bit, probably talk AF1 and CFL with us. And we got some other guys. We got Trey from Off the Wall. We got our friend Greg St. James, who's going to talk some X League. And we got our buddy Royce, who covered a lot of UFL this year over at Viking Wax Press. He's going to stop by as well. And we're going to do some giveaways, some contests, sort of things during the live stream. Trying to have fun for our 400th episode. And as Dad has been saying, if it's not a good show, at least we're going to give you a bad show that you'll remember.
It's either going to be the greatest thing ever, or it's going to be a train wreck. Either way, come check it out.
First live shows can be interesting. You guys will do fine. You guys will do fine. It's just a matter of hitting your groove and saying what you got to say, and don't worry about hitting the don't hit the pause button. So you'll be right, okay, guys.
I'll consider it a win. It's always a win if we do a live stream that Randy doesn't have to get up to use the bathroom. And you guys are real lucky he hasn't said, guys, I drink too much Mountain Dew. I gotta give me like 5 minutes, right back.
Well, we've been here quite a while, and my back is killing me. I should have put the extra pad in my chair, but I love talking football, all kinds of football, and we want to thank you for inviting us to come along and chat about the upcoming Arena Crown Championship game.
Yeah. Oh, it was yeah. Obviously, we're looking for somebody, and I said to Scott, I said, I've known Randy for such a long time. I said him and his son do a great job, and I said, you guys need to give you guys some love. For those who don't know about you guys, get you guys some new viewers and some new listeners and stuff like that. So I said, what better duo than to get you guys on here? Considering you guys did your pod tonight, I applaud you guys. Adam, did you get your editing done?
Oh yeah, everything got taken. I still got a CFL show to get up, but that'll go up tomorrow. Juggling the shows, taking the family out to movies and stuff. I've been trying to burn the candle at both ends, and I think so far I haven't keeled over yet from exhaustion, so I'm good.
Yeah. So I've got to tear all this stuff up and pack it so I can get on a flight on Thursday. So
a flight? Oh man, we're driving there.
Yeah, be on the lookout for our road trip content, I'm sure, where we're going to stop 20 times so Randy can use the restroom.
I want the world of football at Buc-ee's. Come on, make it happen.
Go. There
I
we
was going
go.
to say, we're going to Buc-ee's on the trip. He already found a grave he wants to visit. So,
yeah, we may be doing an episode of Have Grave Will Travel. We may be doing that on the way over there or on the way back. I'm not sure. But I do have a Buc-ee's. I do have a Buc-ee's jersey that I bought at a Buc-ee's down in Kentucky in the closet. It's got the year that they started. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a red football jersey. It's got Buc-ee's on it.
Adam, next time you guys go to a Buc-ee's, you have to buy your father the onesie, because if he will wear the onesie, I
See,
will.
I've not yet been to a Bucky, so I have not been inducted into this.
Okay, I will
Just
pay.
Buc-ee's
I will
cult
pay
you
to
hear
see him
about.
wear the Bucky's onesie.
See if I can't make that happen.
Okay.
Bucky's is an experience. We'll just tell
Yeah,
everybody.
I
Buc-ee's
don't.
is an
God,
experience.
I don't even know where the closest one is to me because they're not up here.
Not close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're building one just outside of Dayton, Ohio. That's
that
going to
might
be
be the
like
closest.
one
Okay,
of
that
the
would probably be the
farthest north.
closest.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and my wife and I love going to Dayton because that's where the Air Force Museum is, and we were both in the Air Force,
Okay.
and so we love to go there about every other year and spend the weekend on the base and check out the museum and hang around the base, whatever. But yeah, there's going to be a Buc-ee's there too, so that's just an added incentive to go there.
That's cool. That's cool. I gotta
Yeah, I'm
get to
getting low.
Buc-ee's.
I'm getting low on Buc-ee's barbecue sauce from my last visit. So
There
I've
you
gotta
go.
replenish my stock. That's good
There
stuff.
you go.
So, guys, thank you so much, man. I really, really
yeah,
appreciate your
thank
time.
you.
Thanks for having us. We enjoy your guys' show. And best of luck next year. Covering more games. I'm looking forward to what new stuff you guys bring.
We're looking forward to. I mean, as said, and for myself, everybody knows if you want to find me, I'm on X and over on Blue Sky at Repacked. That's REPPACT. Besides here with Scott doing the Fan Zone Live, I do my CFL Montreal Alouettes podcast, the Alouettes Flight Deck, and that can be found at alouettesflightdeck.ca. And we have our weekly show. You can find us on YouTube, X, Facebook. Did I get all of them? YouTube. I think I got them all. And our post game shows that we do live every game for the Alouettes, whether they're on the road or at home. You will see our post game show directly after the game. So
Your Alouettes are doing pretty good this year, just like last year.
so far so good. So far so good. Got to see what's going to happen with our current starting quarterback because we'll see what happens this week. So, but anyways, Scott, I'd say, buddy, close this out. It's been a fun 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be doing some stuff this week from the Arena Crown. I should be live. We'll find out more as the week goes on. I'll definitely be there. Hopefully we can get Tim on remotely, but there will be some coverage from Arena Crown. Myself, you can find me at AFL Slasher pretty much everywhere. You look up AFL Slasher, you'll find me. AF1fanzone.com. Catch this show and all of our reruns out there on Evergreen, YouTube, Facebook, all the normal places. You guys should know the drill at this point. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. You guys know the drill. Anyhow, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, guys, stay on. We want to chat with you off air.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank Adam from the Nest as well. This was a great time. I love doing these roundtables. We definitely need to do more of these next year for sure. Maybe even a couple during the off season. So again, thank you all, and we'll see you later on this week.
Touchdowns, tackles we discuss.